But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object, and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
It was a rocket or whatever, but incredibly fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
So you said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please help me!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
1, 0, 1, 1, 0,
self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
All right, good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. The show's live. We do this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. And what is it we do? Well, we talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. You know what they are? Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. Yes. As part of all this, we are streaming live on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter. And of course, we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And as I said, we're taking your phone calls. As part of being live here, it is the thing. It's what we do. We get together and we talk about all kinds of weird stuff. And as part of that, well, it's good to bounce ideas off of each other because you never know, right? Like you think you got all the bases covered and, you don't. And so kind of, I always say this, and this is the truth of the matter, that our secret weapon for this show is you. And what that means is I can't consider all the things because I'm only one person. And there is no truth to the rumor that I'm an alien or a robot. I am indeed just a person, after all, in the wide world, as it were. But so with that said, we have you. And I've always wanted to do sort of a crowdsource sort of show where you get people that are participating and included in the conversation. It's not just one guy on a microphone preaching out to the masses, trying to make you believe this or that or the other thing. I'm as far as that goes. I just hope you believe what it is you think you should be believing in this moment. And it's not up to me to influence that or change it or anything. It's just it's about considering possibilities. And not just the possibilities, but all the possibilities. And so that's what the show's really about. That's my long-winded way of saying that if you want to be part of the show tonight, we have a phone number, and you can be on the show by dialing this phone number, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And go to troubledminds.org, and you can find the Discord link, the phone number, everything's there that you need, and all the social media and whatnot. One-stop shop for all things Troubled Minds at troubledminds.org. And so tonight, well, keep it in vein, or in the vein of weird discussions and weird things to talk about and consider. Today, you'd never believe it, in the news. Yeah. let's just go to it. Let's go to it. Actually, so all the things that real quick. So we have let's see, we got the phone number, we did the Discord. Please also join the Fringe Discord at fringe.fm/chat. I'm watching all of those. I see you out there, Lacey. I see you in the Fringe chat. How are you? Thank you, digging the new pick. Thank you very much. That's if you guys don't know what Discord is, it's a chat client, it's a voice client, and you can go hang out over there and meet nice people. So please do that, fringe.fm/chat, or go to troubledminds.org, click the Discord link. And what's the other thing? Oh, the Fringe FM app. The easiest way to listen to Troubled Minds is just download the app on Fringe. You can find that on the App Store. You can find it on the Google and Android, or sorry, what did I say? Apple and Android. You know what I mean. All the places. Get the app, do the thing. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So let's go. So I was doing the news show today, and, well, if you guys don't know, Troubled Minds News airs Monday and Friday at 3 p.m. Pacific, only on Twitch, and then gets cut to the podcast feed after that a few days later. But I was doing the news show today, and this article came up, and I was like, nah, really? Nah, come on. And yeah, well, wouldn't you know it? The Dogman is in the news. Dogman is in the news. And so as a result, I thought that, well, this is kind of an easy one, because we haven't ever really talked specifically about just the Dogman. It's always been, kind of looped into a show with a werewolf or some of these other things, right? But that doesn't have to be the case at all, because, well, a Dogman is its own thing, isn't it? And it's not a werewolf, and it's not... it has its own sort of legends and stories and all the rest of this. So we'll do that. We'll do some Dogman tonight. And the reason why, and Cynocephaly is actually the actual term for this, if you've never heard of it. And so we're going to do that. And here's why, because we'll just start here. We'll start with the New York Post. And as always, you can check my sources. Links are down below on YouTube there, and they'll always be included with the podcast as well. So you can always fact check me if you think, nah, come on, Mike. No, nobody said they saw a Dogman. Oh, yeah? Well, here we go. This is from the New York Post today, and November 22nd. Man claims he was stalked by terrifying Dogman monster in Australian outback. And I was like, oh, yeah, cool. Doing the news show. And I thought, well, why not? Why not? So we're going to do this. A man has bizarrely claimed he was stalked by a terrifying Dogman monster in the Australian outback. It even says he has picture proof. The fisherman, called John, wildly claims he was left petrified for a month after encountering the supposed half-dog, half-human creature on 2 separate occasions. Speaking on the Believe, the Paranormal and UFO podcast, the Aussie insisted he was followed by what was he has branded a Dogman, and claims he thought he was going to be killed. All right. This is a good place to start, I think. So let's begin here, shall we? So he was fishing. John, this individual, was fishing from his kayak on Boxing Day last year when he says the first incident happened. Quote, I noticed that every time I took a stroke with the paddle of my kayak, whatever this thing was, it was taking a stride to each paddle I was taking, he said. I stopped for a bit, and the sound stopped in the bush too, and I thought it was a bit odd. So I took off paddling again, and sure enough, as soon as I started to paddle every stroke, this thing would take a step. So, well, apparently he was being stalked by, well, wouldn't you know, it's a Dogman. A Dogman. And I think it's a little bit strange to me if this is what's going on out there. Of course, this is in Australia. Thank you, Lacey. Copy that. Appreciate that. So I guess Troubled Minds is currently not on the Fringe app. We'll try and get that looked at. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, so the thing is this, right? This Dogman stuff is, I don't know. I don't know, like we've talked about werewolves, right? And so werewolves, right, the lycanthropy and all this stuff, right? Like, the whole werewolf legend, you get bit, the full moon and the thing, and you become a werewolf, right? We've done all that. But I think this is different because it's not really considering any of that werewolf mythology. It's just the Dogman, right? Just like it sounds, right? Like, hey, I saw a Dogman, you know what I'm saying? Something like that, like just the dog. You got the dog head, you got a man's body, and you got a dog man. And that's what this is, right? The dog man stalker, right? Yeah, I mean, so I think this is a little bit strange because it is very popular actually in the paranormal subculture. There's a lot of actual people that are into these stories, right? There's whole YouTube channels dedicated to just telling dogman stories, dogman encounters, things like this, right? And much of it is kind of like you would expect, right? Kind of like the story of this individual, John, that was fishing somewhere in the outback, and, well, he was being stalked. And interestingly and notably, we kind of have this Dogman situation where it isn't really a werewolf and it isn't really Bigfoot. It's somewhere in between, right? And so I think that's the weirdness of this one, because is it maybe a Bigfoot? Like always, I kind of say that we've, as people, we're very, very sloppy identifying things like this because we don't really have a, like there's no Dogman in a cage. You know what I'm saying? There's no Bigfoot in a cage. And so as part of this thing going on, whatever it is it one of those supernatural sorts of things? Like, I think you could probably even take this to the Skinwalker level, right? With like Skinwalker Ranch and maybe that mythology, meaning that we don't know what these things are. If they're like, with a dog head and the body of a person, then, well, it seems to be a lot like Anubis or something, right? I mean, so not only that, we have some of these old, you go back to ancient Egypt and you have some of this stuff where they have, the dog man, right? And hieroglyphs written in stone, carved in stone. So there's that, right? But then there's all this other stuff where it kind of, the Michigan, what's it called? I'll get to him in a sec. Anyway, so point being is, the question for tonight is this, right? So how different is the Dogman from, let's say, Bigfoot or a werewolf, right? That's the first question. What do you know about it? And do you believe it's a thing, right? Like there's lots of different Dogman encounter stories from all over the country, and of course, wouldn't you know it, all over the world. And I think that's the thing here is that, it's one thing if you're like, okay, yeah, got it, Slender Man, okay, it was an internet thing they made up back in whatever date it was, whatever. But then there's this that's like, very much like some of these other stories in mythology and folklore that they go back years, like not just a few years. We're talking hundreds and thousands of years, and they're told in traditions the world over. Native traditions here in the Americas, of course. We're going back to Europe and even the Middle East, like way, way, way back. There are stories of this. So I don't know what's actually going on with this, and do you believe these stories, or do you think this is just, come on, Michael Strange, get real? This stuff is just phony, right? I'm okay with all that because, well, like I said, we do a good deal of drinking the maybe juice on this show and just considering all the possibilities. And so tonight, I'm considering, do you think Dogman is real? That's the question. And of course, what about the stories? What are the differences between a Bigfoot or a werewolf or this type of thing? What's up? Steve says in the chat, says Dogman is Anubis from ancient Egypt. All right, is Anubis back to stalk people in the outback? That seems unlikely, especially with all the stories, right? All over the world. Maybe. We'll call it the maybe juice moment of the evening. All right, so looking for your thoughts on this. What do you know about this Dogman stuff? Do you think it's real? Do you think it's maybe conflated with some of these other stories about werewolves or the Bigfoot stuff, the Himalayan Yeti and all the rest of this? Or do you think it's its own thing, right? It gets treated certainly as its own thing on some of these, like I said, some of these paranormal subculture places, like on Reddit. There's a Dogman subreddit. There's these YouTube channels that are just booming and killing it with just Dogman stories. And so I wonder, what do you think about that? What are your thoughts on this? Again, is it fake? Is it not? Is it somewhere in between? How do we differentiate between a Bigfoot, a Dogman, and a werewolf? And, well, What are your thoughts? And once again, we're taking your phone calls at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And you can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. Phone number's there, and everything you need is there. So, yeah, so that's what's up. So let's go back to this article and read just a little bit more of this. And this guy was being stalked by the Dogman, right? Actually being stalked by a Dogman. And so the plot thickens. So it's not just the story as it begins here, as he describes it, right? He's in the kayak. Every time he paddles, he hears like steps sort of following him, and he stops paddling. Well, after that, he starts paddling again, and the steps over on the shore seem to be tracking him, following him, stalking him, even hunting him. And so, where's the proof, you say, right? Like, okay, he saw a Dogman. Well, wouldn't you know it, this individual that goes by the name John, he's got a photograph. And I know photographs aren't very good for radio, but I'll describe this to you. Clearly, there's some trees going on over here, and he took a photograph of, well, what appears to be a dark figure, sort of in the trees, maybe looking at him. And I don't know, this is back to that whole pareidolia argument, right? Everybody's like, all the science is like, nah, you're making stuff up. There's nothing there. I don't know. When I'm looking at this, it kind of looks like there's something there. What it is, I don't know, but it does look like something is maybe standing in the treetops there. And is it a Dogman? I don't know. I'll leave that up to you. Links are in the description if you want to check it out, as always, and you can go pull it up full screen, and I encourage you to, because why not? Maybe this is the first actual Dogman captured in a photograph. So I don't know. So what's up? Derek says probably a portal spot. There it is, right? There it is, right by the river, of course. All right, so that's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about Dogman, and it may surprise you that there's a whole lot of old stories regarding Dogman with this Cynocephaly stuff, and what's up? Josh in the chat says looks like a skinny bear. Yeah, it could be, right? It could be. I think that's the weird part, is there's something there. It's definitely like maybe it could be like a black bear, I guess, but you can't really make out any features. It seems, kind of like the joke is always about UFOs. How quick, it's a UFO. Quick, grab your worst camera, like your most blurry camera, oldest nastiest camera, and try and get a picture. Right? It's kind of like that. It's a little bit blurry, and maybe not the best quality, megapixel wise. So I'm not exactly sure. I don't know. I'll leave it up to you. I'm not going to say this is a Dogman or not, because it doesn't really matter. It kind of matters, but it matters more about the conversation that this really starts. Is what's a Dogman? And is this like just a modern thing, like Slenderman, or is this something else entirely? Does this go back very, very, very to the very old days? And so that's what we're talking about tonight. So once again, love to hear your thoughts on this. 702-957-1037. And there's more. Let's see. Let's go to another Dogman story. So we've got this, right? We've got this guy. He says, I've never heard anything like it in my life. It would roar, and then it would take a breath in, and then the breath it was taking was actually louder than the roar it was doing. He continues, this creature just went to another level, and it was crazy. I could hear in my head something saying, go now or you'll die. It wasn't my own voice, my own consciousness. It was something else. That's notable there, that maybe it was telling him to run, right? Maybe through some sort of telepathy. I don't know. Do you think this is all possible, or do you think it's all hogwash? It's up to you. Again, so, quote, that 10 minutes was probably the longest in my whole life, this fisherman named John says. I thought it was going to be killed. I had no weapons, didn't have my fishing knife, no phone service. And those are his photographs of this Dogman. Yeah, I mean, it could be a skinny black bear. I guess I can buy that take. But it, like I said, it kind of doesn't matter unless he wooed it over with some treats and lured it into a cage for scientific study. Then, well, I guess it doesn't matter. But it does matter in that there are other stories of Dogmen, right? The Michigan Dogman is one. Let's see. There we go. Let's do this. Let's tell one of these real fast. So the earliest known Dogman sighting, and this is in modern times, of course. There's stories that go back even earlier than this. But in 1887, the first known Dogman encounter was documented in Wexford County, Michigan. Two lumberjacks were out in the woods, and when they spotted a creature they described as having the body of a man, but the head of a dog. Other sightings began to trickle in throughout the upper peninsula of Michigan, and locals found dog tracks in the dirt around several deceased horses. The horses allegedly perished of fright. Uh-oh. Okay. All right. So there we go. That's 1887, and that's Michigan, of course, which there's a very famous thing called the Michigan Dogman. And so maybe this is where this all begins, at least maybe in North America, and at least maybe in modern times being chronicled in this way. But like I said, some of these native stories go back hundreds of years, and then we have some of these other stories that actually go back thousands of years, if you could believe that. So we'll get into some of that stuff tonight as we discuss this, and here we go. The Michigan Dogman. In Michigan folklore, this is from the Ministry of Truth, of course, Wikipedia. The Michigan Dogman was allegedly witnessed in 1887 in Wexford County, Michigan. The creature is described as a 7-foot-tall, blue-eyed or amber-eyed bipedal canine-like animal with the torso of a man and a fearsome howl that sounds like a human scream. According to legends, the Michigan Dogman appears in a 10-year cycle that falls on years ending in 7. Oh, that's not weird or ritualistic at all, is it? Sightings have been reported in several locations throughout Michigan, primarily in the northwest quadrant of the lower peninsula. In 1987, the legend of the Michigan Dogman gained popularity when disc jockey Steve Cook at WTCM-FM recorded a song about the creature and its reported sightings. And there you go. There's where we begin. We got a Michigan Dogman. We got Wexford County in 1887. And we've got this story from the individual in the outback just today that says a year ago he was stalked by a dogman. And so, yeah. What's up, Joe in Florida says, I keep thinking of Spoon Man. Maybe. I think that's okay with the maybe juice. We can go the Spoon Man or Dog Man as you see fit. But yeah, so that's the question tonight. Once again, so what exactly is a Dog Man? Is there a differentiation between the Bigfoot and the werewolf? Sort of those sagas, those mythologies. Is it again, right? Like we don't have stories about the full moon now. We have this other bizarre story where it seems to reemerge in 10-year cycles and end in the year 7, right? So that would be 1997, right? 2007, 2017, and that would be, of course, 2027. So, well, you tell me. I have no idea. It seems strange that that would be the case here, but I'm not the arbiter of that truth. I'm just reporting what's being said out there. So, if you have thoughts on this, like I said, I'd love to hear what your ideas on this. But okay, and so not only that, I think we have some other stuff in play here, of course, because we got to consider all the things, and all the things being that maybe we've looked at that video of 4D toys. If you guys haven't seen that, join the Discord and you can check it out. But sort of how a fourth dimensional object can slip around and just kind of disappear from a 3-dimensional view. And so, with that said, maybe these critters do kind of slip in and out of our reality as such, right? I've speculated in the past that maybe the Bigfoot stuff could be sort of maybe in a fourth dimensional state, and maybe they're clumsy and slide into our reality and slide right back out. And we don't even know it, or they don't even know it, but we see them and everybody freaks out when they see it, of course, because, well, who wouldn't? And here we are. Yeah, what's up, Daryl in the chat says Bigfoot's cousin? Maybe. But also, okay, but then we have this other stuff, right? What about the skinwalker? They're known as shapeshifters. So there's a whole bunch at play here, if this is like sort of like ritual magic, like they say about skinwalkers, or if it's something completely different, So that's what we're doing. That's what's on my mind tonight, and I hope it's got you thinking, because, well, that's what this is all about after all. And as we go down to the bottom of the hour here, love to hear your thoughts. What's a dogman? How is it different from a Bigfoot or a werewolf? And do you believe this is real at all? 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More Dogman, mythology, and you after the break. Be right back. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And we're taking your phone calls, as tonight we're discussing whether Dogman is a real thing. It seems to be popular on the interwebs and in Reddit subforums and on YouTube. But I'm less concerned about that, and I'm more concerned about what you think, because of course, right, that's what makes this show go around, is not what I think, it's what you think. And so if you want to be part of the show, give us a call at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. You can click the Discord link at troubledminds.org. And there we go. There we go. Easy as that. Okay, so I don't know. There's more here, right? Of course, just like we had the comment over there on Rockfin. This is completely true. We'll get to this story a little bit later, which is kind of wild. That the Dogman became a saint. The Dogman became a saint in the Orthodox tradition. Saint Christopher. Jonathan Pajot has a lot of material on him. That's from the Juice. Thank you again for the tip on Rockfin. Appreciate that very much. And so we'll get to that. We'll get to that. I'm going to actually note this because we have to talk about this, and I don't want to forget tonight. So let me get this. But anyway, so that's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about Dogman, and what do you think about this tradition? Is it strange? Is it weird? What's going on with some of this stuff? And yeah, there's actually a camera or a photograph of this, right? I think that's the strange part, is there's an actual photograph this guy took, and you know, whether it's a bear or whether it's a whatever the heck it happens to be, that's what this is. So anyway, back to this article. This is where we started tonight with the this man claims he was stalked by terrifying Dogman monster in Australian outback, and well, then it kind of got me thinking about not just this particular story about a Dogman, but what about the Dogman in general? And what does this mean for lots of things, for mythology, for folklore, for old spiritual religions, like of course the ancient Egyptians with the dog-headed Anubis, and all the rest of this. It makes you wonder, right? If it's a dog-headed thing or whatever's happening. So I don't know. You tell me. That's the question. And Matt in the chat says sometimes Dogman is called a gnoll, Gnol. And I know what a gnoll is, because that's from the Dungeons and Dragons Monster Manual. Yeah. Okay. So all right. So this is where we begin tonight. In this moment, we have this man claims he was stalked by a terrifying Dogman monster in the Australian outback. We go to Wexford County, Michigan, in 1887, which was supposedly the first Dogman sighting, at least chronicled in North America. By the new settlers, we'll say. But the native tradition actually goes back even more than that. So the creature, of course, the Michigan Dogman, was unknown to most of the modern world until very late in the 20th century there. It is said to have been stalking around the area of the Manistee River since the days when the Odawa tribes lived there. Authentic sources for sightings made prior to 1987, however, have never been documented beyond Steve Cook's song, as discussed below. And this is exactly what you would expect. This was it would be a from Wikipedia, right? Kind of like the poo-poo on everything sort of situation, right? But anyway, okay. So in 1937 in Paris, Michigan, Robert Fortney was attacked by 5 wild dogs, and said that one of the 5 walked on 2 legs. Reports of similar creatures also came from Allegan County in the 1950s, and in Manistee and Cross Village in 1967. And so that's that's where this story comes from regarding the Michigan Dogman. But there's more. I think there's more here, because again, some of this tradition does go back quite a ways, and you can see some of these native tribes described these creatures walking on two legs, the head of a dog, right? The body of a man, the head of a dog. And is it real? I think that's really the question here. There's more stories, so I'll dig into a few more of these stories here just to kind of get us started tonight. But so this is from listverse.com. I'll read this in a sec. But looking to hear your thoughts on this. What is going on with the Dogman? How different is it than, of course, a werewolf or a Bigfoot? And are we conflating things again? Maybe these are all big feet, and maybe not. Sasquatch or something else. You guys tell me. I have no idea. But here we go. Let's go with this. Oh, by the way, yeah, 702-957-1037, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link. Here we go. Let's see. We did this Racine right on Lake Michigan. All right, so let's go to this one. This is the Paris, Michigan story. All right, so this one is takes us to, this is the Michigan Dogman again, right? And so let's see. Robert Fortney was fishing one summer day on the Muskegon River closest to the town of Paris, Michigan. The year was 1938, and Fortney was 17 years old. Suddenly, Fortney was attacked by a pack of wild dogs, which we just described. 6, as far as Fortney could count. 6 dogs. 6 wild dogs. The teenager was lucky to have his rifle handy. Before any of the dogs could lunge, he fired one warning shot into the air. After that, all the dogs scattered, save for one. This black fur canine proved to be no ordinary dog, however, and as soon as the shot rang out, it proceeded to stare into Fortney's eyes with his own piercing blue gaze from a distance of 10 feet. Then it started grinning. Not succumbing to fear, Robert Fortney fired one more warning shot, this time causing the maybe werewolf to run off. However, instead of skedaddling on all fours, this would-be werewolf stood up around 6 feet tall before running away on 2 legs. Fortney would be one of the many callers that Steve Cook would receive in 1987 after putting his song The Legend on the radio. The creature that Cook came up as a prank, it turned out to be very, very real to the longtime Michigan native Robert Fortney. And so that's 1938, Paris, Michigan. And so interesting. And I think the thing is that piercing blue eyes, this Dogman. It attacked with a pack of dogs. And, at the first pack, the other 5 dogs ran off at the first warning shot, but this other one stood up on its hind legs and stared him in the eyes. It locked eyes with this would-be victim of the Dogman, right? And this is the Michigan Dogman, of course. But there are more kind of the world over. We'll get into some of these stories as we go tonight as well. There's lots of this on the internet. And so, well, like I said, what do you think? How different is this? Is it like they described in that story there, a would-be werewolf, right? In terms of, well, what could it be? This was a daytime encounter. So the werewolf tradition is that they come out at night, right? They the full moon or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. All right, as requested, I'm putting this photograph up on the stream in full size so you guys can check it out. But anyway, so that's what we're doing tonight. We're talking about the Dogman, and what does it mean? What is this thing? Looking at some of the stories and some of the history and some of the legends of this that go back, and I kind of don't know. It seems to me that I think we're probably conflating things, right? Bigfoots, Dogmen, maybe werewolves, and maybe calling them each other, or maybe there's one thing and we've called it 3 things. I don't know. Like I said, if only I had all the answers, then I could just tell you the answers and we'd be done. But it's not as simple or easy as that. Nor is it as much fun, to be honest, when you're kind of stomping around looking for some of these stories, as it were, on the internet and trying to figure these things out. But yeah, I don't know. You tell me. So there's the photograph, and I don't know exactly what this thing is. It could be like people have described, maybe like a skinny black bear or something like that. But this is the photograph from the article in the New York Post, where the individual in Australia actually was being stalked by this thing in the trees that was kind of following him along the shore of the river. So I can kind of see a face in there, but I don't really see a dog face. Interesting. Anyway, all right. So that's what's going on with this, and that's where we begin tonight with this particular story. And there is the link if you guys want to check out the actual Dogman in full screen glory. I'm going to post the link in the chat, and you guys can go check it out there. There you go. What's going on? What's going on? How was that volume, Tam? Is that better? Is that better on the music? What's up? Ronald says, Dogmen are easy to recognize. They have 8 nipples and drink out of the toilet. There it is. There it is. Ronald with the jokes over on Rockfin. All right. So let's go to more of these stories, right? There's a lot of these stories out there, which are, again, kind of, interesting. Here's okay. So we know about the werewolf, right? It's got the full moon, right? They bite people, and they can turn them into other werewolves through some sort of either pathogen or maybe ancient curse. We've talked about that on another show. But what about the Dogman, right? How do they make more Dogmen, right? Is it something like that? What are some of the things here? And here's some of the things that they say about them. They scream like an infant in the night. This is from Ranker.com. One witness claims a creature best described as a dogman or werewolf was stalking up the hill behind their house in the late fall of 2001. Quote, my stepdaughter and I were looking out the French doors to see a creature, black in color, like a big bear with haunches and the head of a wolf. While that was the first and only visual of the Cass County, Michigan sighting the residents experienced there, they can still hear it splashing around the 20-acre swamp land at night. Sometimes they can even hear it shrieking. According to them, it has the scream of an infant, loud and hysterical. And there are, Dogman research websites and things like this. Dogman Cams is one of them. North American Dogman Project that kind of not just chronicles sightings, but puts them down afterward. Yeah. All right. Cool. Thank you. Thanks for the sound check. And so let's go. Actually, yeah, we got. Looks like we got James here and we got Daryl here. Appreciate it, guys. Let's go. Let's go to our. So we're taking your phone calls, talking about this Dogman situation. What do you think this is? Again, is there some sort of weirdness to this, where maybe we're conflating Bigfoot and Dogman, and a werewolf is one thing, or do you think they're separate things? And if so, Dogman is on my mind tonight. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go to our good buddy James of Salcedo Paranormal. What's up, buddy? Welcome to the show. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. How do I sound?
Loud and clear.
Good. Yeah, the main thing I just wanted to bring up real quick about the pictures, and it ties into this, but it also just covers everything in terms of paranormal photography. I was recently listening to a show and a presentation about the subject in general, and the person giving the presentation had an idea that maybe the reason these things appear blurry in pictures is that they are either giving off, or there's some kind of a different kind of light surrounding them, like an infrared or something else that we don't even know about, that is obscuring their image from the camera.
Okay.
Making it harder to pick up the exact, clear image of it.
Okay, that makes sense. And so it would kind of maybe vibe it in the sense that it's maybe a paranormal critter then, right? More like a ghost or something in that vein.
It does seem like there's, and this is the case with Bigfoot too. There seem to be reports where it seems more like a physical creature, like an animal, and then there's others where, almost like the first story I read, or one of the first stories where the person heard a voice in his head saying, basically saying, "Get out of here or you'll die." There seems to be two camps in that, and in all of this, two kinds of descriptions of these events. So it's definitely possible.
Yeah, and so that was a thing that seems a little bit terrifying. If there is, maybe it was his own. He said it wasn't himself. It was some sort of entity or something in his head telling him to run or you're going to die. So maybe it was a threat. Maybe it was sort of that telepathy, right? We talk about telepathy with aliens and things like that all the time. But why not a Dogman? Especially if he's like a dimensional critter or something like that. I can totally buy that. So I don't know. I know. So James here has a podcast called Salcedo Paranormal. Have you done any Dogman shows at all on your podcast there?
I have not. I haven't really branched out from the regular ghost stuff so far. But I do plan on branching out on my Friday episodes once I come back to Fridays after this week with the Thanksgiving and everything. But yeah, it's something I do plan on looking into because, like you mentioned, there are sightings in Michigan, and which is really interesting. Not so much in my area. I'm like more in southeast Michigan, but that doesn't mean that there aren't any here. I just haven't looked into all that yet very closely.
Yeah, that makes sense. And it is your neck of the woods. Speaking of actual neck of the woods, you're, at least in the correct state there. Is that something that you hear about? Do you it's probably not something people talk about around the water cooler anyway, but anybody in your family or when you got to events, anything, have you ever heard anybody in your lifetime bring up the Michigan Dogman as, a thing? Or is this sort of just like a, dark corners of the internet sort of thing?
Yeah, more so different podcasts I've listened to. But it does pop up every so often. The topic of the Dogman in general definitely pops up, and then within that, Michigan definitely does pop up here and there too. So, yeah, so that's definitely on my list of things to look into. So I'm definitely interested in this tonight. Great topic.
Okay, thank you. So what's your theory then on, let's say, Dogman versus Bigfoot versus a werewolf? Is there a difference there, or do you think we're just kind of being humans and calling everything different things when we have really no idea?
I've heard, and I can't cite any examples specifically right now, but I've heard descriptions of them being different things. People have described, I'm sure this was a Dogman versus I'm sure this is a Bigfoot versus, I'm sure that's the werewolf thing that seems to be a little bit closer to what a Dogman would be from what I've heard. Again, I don't claim to know anything. I'm just basing this on things I've heard over the years. But they do seem to be, it seems like they are two different things. It's just they may be related just in that they have canine aspects to them.
Yeah, and so what about like the ancient stuff? Like we were talking about Anubis, right? And as being like an ancient Egyptian god, but it's basically like you can't call it anything else other than that's a dogman, right? I mean, Anubis is a dogman, for crying out loud.
And that's fascinating. That always, to me, whenever there's references to similar things way back when, to me that says, even if there's not so much of something now, there must have been some reason for that back then. Some kind of element of truth somewhere. But yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah, so they say they see them today in Michigan and other places. Again, there's a native tradition that goes back hundreds of years at least here in the Americas where these things exist. And so they've told, as always, passing it down, the oral tradition and that whole thing. But, well, what does it mean? If people see these things and it's not just like something created by the internet, as a spooky story to scare people, then, well, I'm drinking some maybe juice here, but it seems like this might be a thing, huh? You think Dogmen are real?
I think it's possible. It's definitely, there's, again, like everything else, there's too many stories for them all to be fake, I think.
Yeah, so we'll say drink some maybe juice and say maybe. Maybe.
Yep.
Maybe it's good enough
definitely.
for me. Fantastic. Any other thoughts on Dogman? I like your idea there where it maybe is causing some sort of interference with like camera equipment if you don't have the right type of stuff. But anything else? Any other thoughts on this? What we got you on tonight, my friend?
No other thoughts, but just to give credit where it's due, because I think it's important. And I hope you don't mind, Mike, if I mention this, but I've mentioned it before on my shows too. The podcast where I heard this is Where Did the Road Go?, which is a fairly popular podcast in this realm of shows. And the host on there, Soraya Azkath, I believe is his name, is the one that mentioned this idea that could be what's causing it. And I don't know if we got it from anyone else, but that's where I heard it. So, and I just really, the idea that there are physical things attached to these possibly non-physical entities, beings, is really interesting to me too.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty curious that we're talking about Dogman and being able to take like a clear picture, but UFOs are very much in the same realm, right? Everybody's like, oh, look, I got a picture of UFO, and you look at it and it's just like a blur. Like, oh, all right, nice UFO. So I wonder, right? Like we've talked about UFOs as being these dimensional things that kind of shift in and out of our reality. It makes sense that maybe these things might be as well. That there's some kind of creature that kind of walks between dimensions and just kind of fades in and out. Makes sense, huh?
Yeah, and that could explain also the whole ability to communicate through them, telepathically, or at least send thoughts anyway. There have been reports I've heard over the years of people that feel like these things were looking into their minds and or souls at the same time, which is even more terrifying. So it does lend to that, them being something other than just regular biological beings. But again, that's a whole other debate. But it's still interesting to check all that out.
100%. Fantastic. Good stuff as always, James. Please give James a follow at Salcedo Paranormal. Links in the description, both on Rockfin and on YouTube. Don't even have to go very far. Just scroll down and you give James a follow. Appreciate the call, my friend. Thank you for listening. Thanks for participating. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too, my man. There you go. All right. So we're just hanging out talking about Dogman tonight. And what is this? What does it mean? Is it one of those situations where we're conflating two things or three things with like maybe a Sasquatch or maybe a werewolf, or how does this work, right? Is it like James and I were describing there, maybe some sort of dimensional entity that can kind of phase in and out of things, sort of like they talk about on Skinwalker Ranch, these ghost wolves or whatever they are coming out of portals, stuff like this. I think there's a lot here, and it seems like it might be, one of those things where you shrug your shoulders and go, Dogman, whatever. But then again, we got some pretty wild stuff already with like the maybe telepathic communication, right? Kind of as the man described in his story from the New York Post there in Australia, where the thing growled and screamed at him, but he also heard in his mind some sort of situation where the entity was telling him to run or you're going to die, right? Basic, very, very basic threat. So we got not just maybe telepathic communication here. We got the ice blue eyes, right? Going back to the Michigan Dogman. We've got maybe talking about these things phasing in and out of realities, right? Who knows? Maybe messing with cameras like James described. Good stuff. I have no idea, and that's why we talk about these things. That's why we get together and do this. And why not? Why not? And there's a lot of specific stories. I'll weave some of these stories in as we go tonight and discuss this stuff. But as always, right? You tell me. I'm not the arbiter of truth in any capacity, and so we do this with you to see what your idea is. And if you don't believe Dogmen exist, that's cool. That's why we get together and do this. What's up, the Juice over there? One more tip on Rockfin. Appreciate that. Says, male fox mating calls sound like shrieking women. At 2 a.m., it'll scare the snot out of you. Yeah, well, maybe that's what's going on with this. And that could be it too, right? Just kind of mistaken identities of different animals in different parts of the world. Who knows? And so that's what we're getting together talking about. The topic tonight is the Dogman, just a basic old Dogman. But what does that mean, right? We're talking about, again, this interdimensional stuff, these shrieking, possibly telepathic communication. What about Anubis, right? What about those sorts of things? How long have these stories been around? And what do you believe? It comes down to what you believe. You think this could be possible or real, or do you think it's a bunch of BS? And that's all fine by me. So if you want to be part of the show tonight, let's see if we can get this volume correct. Then what we're doing is we're just talking about, yeah, you got it, Dogman. And the Michigan Dogman and different Dogman stories around the world. And I think the weirdness is that there's a lot to it. It's not as simple as just a man body and a dog head. There's a whole lot more here. So what are your thoughts on this? As we continue trucking tonight, we're taking your phone calls, and you can reach us at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll get to more Dogman stories as we go tonight, and some of these things, some really weird stuff that, again, telepathy, phasing in and out of dimensions. Who knows what's really going on with this, or is it all a figment of our imagination? All right, love to hear from you. One more time, this is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More Dogman, stories, and you when we return. Be right back. are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon. Aliens.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing that. Through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. Random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
All right, so
and they also feel them planting or receiving memories or ideas or images.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. Tonight, we're talking about the Dogman. What is this thing? Is it different from a werewolf, or of course different from a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch or anything else? And how come there's so many different stories and so many different descriptions of not just what this thing may look like, but some of the abilities it has? Of course, we already talked about a story as we started regarding maybe telepathic communication. We've speculated possibly this thing phases in and out of what's going on with our reality. So who knows? Is this a ghost? Is this a phantasm? Is this what is this thing? We have no idea, and that's what we're talking about tonight. And of course, we are live and taking your phone calls as we stream on DLive, YouTube, Rockfin, and Twitter, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. So if you want to be part of the show tonight, the number to call, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. Easy as that. And exciting stuff. I think that it is a little bit strange when you think about cryptids and that whole cryptozoology bit and how this really works or doesn't work. And right, I mean, because clearly if we knew what this stuff was, somebody'd catch one, put it in a cage, we could go down to the zoo and see the Dogman in the zoo. Well, but apparently this exact thing is not anything like that. So we're speculating. We're considering the possibilities here, and that's what we do on this show. And I call it drinking the maybe juice. So let's drink some maybe juice and consider what a Dogman may or may not be. And let's go to our good friend, Derek the Night Stalker. Derek in Massachusetts. Welcome, my friend. How are you tonight?
Right on, Mike. Great show tonight.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm sure you have an idea here of what a Dogman may or may not be.
Oh man, it's kind of a tough wake up right now. I'm just trying to drink a nice hot cup of maybe juice to put myself up here. But
fair enough.
It's cool stuff, I think. My first thought to really dip straight into the maybe juice is recently I was listening to something about like the Nephilim or whatever, and they were describing how like there's one take on the Dogman or like all kind of cryptids is that there's like the fallen angels, like the tier of celestial beings. The fallen angels came down and had children with humans, with like took wives and had children. Those are the Nephilim. And the Nephilim took other children. They also had children with human wives, but they also went out to have children with like bears and wolves and snakes and birds and stuff. And those children, those hybrids, are supposed to be the Dogman and the Bigfoot and the Mothman and all that kind of stuff. So under that paradigm, that kind of gives it all its weird powers and weird paranormal abilities because it has some kind of like celestial power to it. There's some kind of weird hybrid being with these fallen angel Nephilim creatures. Which is a weird take, but It's interesting to me too.
Yeah, I don't think it's that weird. I mean, we're talking about like creatures from mythology, basically. So I mean,
yeah, true.
Until, like I said, until you see one and put it in a zoo, it's all good by me. I do like the take there regarding that, especially since we don't know what that whole Nephilim mating with women and that whole bit was,
exactly.
Right? Like biblically, they say that they created giants or titans or things like this.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
But is it really some kind of like? I'm going to bring up Buffy again. I don't know why it always comes up to that, but in that mythology, like the vampires and the demons and stuff of that lore are from when the old ones, like that mythology basically just uses Lovecraftian's old ones, but they call them the ancient ones. It's literally the same thing though. When they were being cast out of this reality, which is what I think happened, they like mixed their blood with man and created this weird hybrid, which is like the vampire or the demons on the show. They're half-bred demons, so they're not full pure demons. So maybe this is like a biblical version of the same thing. Like maybe they didn't actually they take human wives, but maybe there's some kind of weird blood fusion where it created this hybrid race of weird mystical creatures. This half animal, or part animal, part human, part celestial being. But then there's also like the Bigfoot stories of like the Anunnaki and like the alien stuff, where like we were some kind of genetic project for them, and the Bigfoot was an earlier project that like is still kind of around. There's still remnants of them around, that they made the Bigfoot first, and then us after that. So perhaps these different cryptids are just different versions of weird genetic intervention, or genetic manipulation from like the heavens or other realms or aliens, or who knows. Different types of hybrids or different types of of weirdness, or also just like they could be all coming out of portals and from different places. Maybe there's a whole universe populated by, instead of humans, there were the human dogs, and then there's another one of human bear things, and another one of like human bird things, and then there's just doorways, and they're all popping in and out. We got this weird nexus planet where all these things are popping out. Like we're like the airport of the multiverse, where everything is kind of all rubbing elbows. But I don't know. As far as like the werewolf skinwalker difference, to me, that's the biggest one, is that they shapeshift. They're humans, and then they either on purpose or because they were like bitten, they transform. Whereas a dogman, to me, seems like they're probably always a dogman, and a Bigfoot is always a Bigfoot. They don't transform. That's like the most glaring difference. But the 10-year thing, where on the 7 it transforms, makes me think what if it's some kind of like Grimm fairy tale style, where it's some kind of curse, some kind of like some old ancient like prince was cursed by this like gypsy or something, to every 10 years you have to walk the planet as some wolfman, or like I don't know, some kind of weird thing, or some kind of celestial alignment that opens these portals to this dogman realm and allows these things to come in and walk amongst us. That's a weird thing, that every 10-year thing.
Yeah, I think so too. Like I was a little bit surprised when I started digging it to learn some of this stuff. That 10-year thing, like you said, is pretty weird with the number 7. I mean, the number 7 in the year, right? Is that something weird in symbology?
It's biblical for sure. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's all kinds of 7s, and it's like a base number in gematria. It's 7. There's a lot of 7 stuff. Yeah, and then the phasing in and out of reality, and like how that's similar to UFO stuff and all kinds of other cryptid lore and mythological stuff. It reminds me of Jacques Vallée's Passport to Patagonia. Like the cover of that, like is like the alien that has the different puppets of the different creatures and stuff on it. But then like the inside, or the back cover or inside cover, is actually like some kind of hand that's like puppeting all the creatures, and like the hidden hand is this some kind of 5-dimensional entity that's like manipulating reality in different ways, just taking different shapes to us and appearing to us in different shapes, but it's always some kind of thing that's like, whatever this thing is that creates synchronicity is this thing that's interacting with us that we don't even really have a frame of reference to really describe or even talk about, but it's the thing that's kind of playing with reality, which is why these events, doesn't matter what kind of cryptid it is or what kind of like near-death experience or like angelic experience or alien experience, something about it seems ethereal, as if it's not happening the way it actually seems to be happening. Some kind of like your mind is trying to process something that's like, it's like a fifth dimensional information trying to be filtered through with a 3-dimensional prism. It's like you're not completely grasping it, So perhaps when people are seeing these things that are phasing in and out or doing weird things or acting like nonsensical or trickster-like, that's what we're dealing with. So I'm open to all of it, that there's some kind of hybrid program going on where they have these dog-human, wolf-human hybrids, that maybe there's a Dogman creature that's like a descendant of the fallen angels. Maybe there's a Dogman alien race that's coming in through portals. Maybe there's a dog. Maybe these trickster entities are appearing to us as Dogman, and we're seeing all of them. It's I'm open to all of it. All the different flavors of maybe juice are in the on the shelf.
Yeah, flowing in the Dogman mythos.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I got you. Pretty weird here. Had you heard of the Dogman having sort of telepathic abilities, like this one guy described in the first story there?
No. I mean, cryptid stuff having telepathy, like that's another thing where I don't know. It seems when people I don't have any of these my own experiences. Sometimes when people are having these experiences, or describing them, it seems like that they're trying to almost describe senses that we don't have. Like, yeah, like I could. There was a strong smell, and he was like in my head, and I felt like I was like floating, or I couldn't move, or something. It sounds like that 3D to 4D analogy, where what would it seem like for like a flat image to be taken up by like a round object? It would be, you wouldn't know how to describe it. It would be, you'd be piecing it together and like trying to form it with a reality that you have. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. So maybe that's what these ancient tales or the Anubis is that it's just, it was some kind of a celestial being. This, like the way that the ancient biblical stories describe like actual angels of these like rotating wheels of light with eyes all over it and 20 wings and all this, like these crazy Lovecraftian monster type things. It's your brain trying to come up with a way to process this information that's outside of your capabilities, So it gives it to us in these fantastical images, and perhaps that's what we're seeing when we go into these woods and these groves and these hotspot window areas, is we're like getting a glimpse of like outside of our regular paradigm, and it's taking the shape of like wild creatures, or there's just stuff popping in and out, actual, I'm not sure. I'm open to all of it.
Yeah, the old portal stuff. I think it's pretty fascinating that, probably in like modern mythos here, and some of the things that get talked about a lot is that Skinwalker Ranch with the portals and some of these like ghost wolves maybe coming in and out. And in some case they're called coyote or shapeshifter, these trickster spirits. So I wonder if it's, something kind of in that realm as well. Difficult to say, of course, because like I said, until we put one in a zoo, we'll never know. But
and like the way they talk about it, like the way you mentioned it earlier about how like some cultures you can't even talk about the Skinwalker because they're afraid that it brings it on to you. Like it's some kind of like they're somehow tied into like reality. They know what you're thinking. They know what you're talking about. Like they're always around. You can't they know you're there. There's some kind of like they're pulling some type of strings. That's what I think of when I think of this trickster reality. This not an actual like crazy elf trickster like Joker type thing that's like running amok in the woods. It's more so this whatever this hand is that's reaching into reality like from the outside and like just manipulating us. That's what I think of when I think of the trickster, and it will take different shapes. It'll come to us as, I don't know, and one of those shapes could be a Dogman, but also like the idea of just there being dog creatures out there is wild. Like or some type of like I was looking at the Hollow Earth stuff earlier, so maybe there is some type of different races that are living inside, and sometimes we come up against them, and they hunt us, and they're the basis of these myths. I don't know. I'm rambling, so I'll let you go. But
good stuff.
Really cool stuff, brother.
Appreciate it. Thank you. That's Derek in Massachusetts, a Night Stalker. He's got a YouTube channel. Link in the description. Follow him. He doesn't have any content yet, but he's working on it. Let's inspire him and let's follow Night Stalker. Appreciate the call, my friend. We'll talk to you soon. All right, so tonight we are discussing Dogman. This is, of course, Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange, and we're considering all the possibilities here. The Dogman and Cynocephaly, which we'll get to in just a sec, because, of course, we've got an expert here on the line, which is Jennifer from Missouri. We're going to go to her in just a sec. But Cynocephaly is this condition known as, in Latin it means cyno means, actually, hold on. I'll find you this in a sec. But let's let's not make Jennifer wait any longer. We're taking your phone calls as we talk about Dogman and what all this means. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. Welcome, Jennifer. No pressure. I just called you an expert. How are you?
Thank you, Mike. Right.
What?
Okay. So Dogman is actually it's my favorite cryptid. The first thing I think that I want to mention about it is I think of Dogman like the same way that I think of like cougars, mountain lions, and bears. I think that the difference is that, okay, I think they're enormous. I think there's been different types people have mentioned. Some are, about like the size of a large man, like 6 foot tall, and some are enormous, like up to 10 feet tall, 12 feet tall. People say that sometimes. And it's not out of the realm of imagining when you think of a polar bear up on its hind legs, for example, but even bigger than that. And they're extremely broad, some of these, like several feet across. And it's not just that they're an animal. I think that they have a very acute intelligence, like almost on par with humanity, like the same as human beings, or close to it, but they're retaining full animalistic ability. So like the intelligence of the smartest dog for example, like a German Shepherd that works with the police department or something like that, but even smarter than that with a certain type of humanistic intelligence. I think they're too, I'm going to go into it just a little bit. I think they're too intelligent to capture and keep in, for example, like if they were to capture them and put them in a zoo, I think it'd be incredibly dangerous. I think these animals are to the extreme of being dangerous, like could tear a man apart with its, just with its, like worse than a bear, but way worse. And I think that they are real. I think that they are keeping all of the, if you think about the national forests and everything, and the expanses, the vast expanses of wilderness, I think they are deep in there. And I think sometimes people come in contact with them, but I think that even the ranger forestry, like the forestry, that they know about these creatures, and they try to keep people like out of certain regions and certain seasons so they don't encounter these creatures. There have been accounts where people who do live out in rural communities talk about these things that they have seen. Some people have encountered and seen them, or seen what appears to be, at a distance. I think I've never seen one. I live really far out in the country, and of course I've always hoped I would see one. But then again, if you do see one, it kind of insinuates you might have a problem because they tend to be kind of curious with people too, I've heard. But there was a case that happened where a man had encountered one, and it was bothering he had a ranch, and he called his sheriff, and he came out, and the guy described what was going on. The sheriff took him pretty seriously, and I guess the sheriff left, and like a week later, a team that he said was kind of like a special forces team showed up and brought out this device. It was like, 8 men, and they brought out this device, an instrument, and they turned it on, and they were armed and everything. They turned this device on, though, and his dog fell on the ground, like writhing and going into seizures. And he claims that team went out to his game cams and took all of the chips out of his game cams and everything, and drove that Dogman off with that instrument, and then was also going to try to kill it or capture it if they did come across it, I'm assuming. So I think that they do try to keep a limit between us seeing these things, and they don't want us interacting with these, what we're calling Dogman. But I think that they're so intelligent and incredibly dangerous, and it's not something that if they did capture it, that they would want to capture. Like, I think it could, and they, for some reason too, I don't know if it's the immense size or what, but when people do try to shoot them, it's like they're not even harmed. Like, they may even, like, the person may claim that they saw, like, the whole chest side, pectoral, like, tear off. However, the thing just, like, keeps going. Like, it doesn't do anything. and they may have like some kind of, I don't know how you would explain that or what the deal with that is. But I do believe they're real. I think that they are different from werewolves, and I think that they are different from skinwalkers. I think skinwalkers are scarier than Dogman or werewolf, kind of, or on the same par with werewolf. And then I just think that people can't record them or take pictures of them, because when you think about a person who encounters, for example, a mountain lion even, they don't always, especially if they're going to have an encounter or they're afraid they're going to have a confrontation, they just do not think to record because this thing's going to kill them. You know, like, and when you see a Dogman, I think the first impressions are complete terror. The same way if you were to encounter a grizzly bear, but worse, like way maxed out. And so the last thing, when they actually really do encounter one, is to record it. I think that man was maybe, if he did record that, and that is actually what he did encounter, because there's 3 different types. Supposedly there's several different types. There's some that look more like a German Shepherd, some that don't have tails. So they have, in the cryptid world with it, they have all kinds of stuff they talk about there's different tiers of it. And other people cover that, you know, it's really interesting. But I think they are a real species. A cryptid's an animal species that they do not talk about.
Okay, fantastic. What about the Anubis connection? You think there's something to that in some of these ancient stories? Do you think the maybe less paranormal or more paranormal than you're describing, or just simply just a sort of a cryptid that hides in the woods?
Well, if there is something with the Anubis thing and the Cynocephaly and that whole genre, because you have the Cyno, and then you have the Kaino, or Kaio, I think, or whatever, Kaino, and that's in Greek. So that's the word that they used to have for dogs. But it's weird because, like, the term dog, I guess, has a mysterious, people talk about having some kind of mysterious background. Like, nobody's really sure when people started using the word dog to describe, like, domesticated dogs. The dogs they had, the word they had for dogs was, like, the Cyno, you know, or the Kaino in Greek. And so they say that. And with this Anubis thing, what if some of these, I don't know if they're exactly the same thing. You know, it's just very, because the ones they show depicted are very human-like with just a dog head. It's really strange. I don't know. But, you know, if they do have an extreme intelligence level, what if some of these kind of like a dog, but beyond that, like on par up with a human being, and actually wear clothes. In fact, there were people talking about during some alien abduction stories that they saw dog-headed men smoking cigarettes in trench coats, like in some accounts of abduction. But seriously, somebody mentioned that they like had some kind of encounter with Men in Black, and they saw these what looked like, you know, like kind of like the dogs playing poker thing. That's what I was about to say. Totally. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know. But then with the Anubis thing, what if some of them were, you know, what if they were worshipped like, you know, or seen as a type of god because they're incredibly impressive? What if some of them do have human par intelligence and have a knowledge of something beyond? So.
Exactly. Fantastic stuff. Thank you. Always a great call, Jennifer. Everybody follow Jennifer's YouTube channel. Scroll down, link in the description. Thank you so much for the phone call. Great stuff. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night, okay?
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Have a great night. There you go. We're talking about Dogman tonight. Good stuff from Jennifer. Good stuff from Night Stalker. Good stuff from James. Thank you guys for kicking us off with the phone calls. If you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. More Troubled Minds after the break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, YouTube, DLive, and Twitter, and we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And of course, we're taking your phone calls. If you want to be part of the show tonight, we're talking about Dogman. Dogman. That's right. What is this thing? And again, there's a lot of stories regarding this, surrounding the mythology of it, the folklore, again, in the native tradition, and of course, going all the way back to Anubis in ancient Egypt. So, well, you tell me, what are your theories on this? And if you want to be part of the show, I'd love to hear your thoughts at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Let's do it. Let's keep on trucking. Lots to talk about here, so here we go. Okay, so the thing is this, right? There's an interesting side note to this, that the cynocephaly and the rest of this stuff. So let's see. We want this one here. Okay, so this is the cynocephaly is it's a characteristic having the head of a dog or of a jackal, and is widely attested mythical phenomenon existing in many different forms and contexts. Okay, and this is from let's see, this is from the infogalactic.com is the website here, which is kind of like a Wikipedia clone, but it's a little bit more in depth. So here we go. So cynocephaly is taken from the Latin word cynocephalus, meaning dog head, which derives from Greek. The prefix cyno or kyno, C-Y-N-O, comes from the combining form of Greek meaning dog. This prefix forms compound words having the sense of dog. The suffix cephalix comes from the Latin word cephalicus, meaning head. So dog head, right? Just basically dog head. Good old-fashioned dog head, right? But then this continues. This is a little bit weird. Cynocephaly was familiar to the ancient Greeks from representations of the Egyptian gods, of course. We have Duomotep is one from the son of Horus. Pardon me on the pronunciation of these Egyptians, but these Egyptian gods. Wep-Wawet, the opener of the ways, and Anubis, of course, the Egyptian god of the dead, which we're talking about here. And how some of this kind of fits is strange, because not only does it go back sort of in the oral tradition of the Native Americans and North America in general. Now we have some of these stories that go back far enough to like Anubis and the ancient Egyptians with this cynocephaly, with this dog head syndrome, whatever this happens to be. And so it makes you wonder, right? Is there something to this in the sense that there is more of a what would you say? More of a paranormal twist, like maybe as Derek was describing there, that it's some sort of maybe descendants of Anubis, right? This type of thing, and who knows? And I think that's the weirdness of all this as it goes. So now here's the weird thing. This is what I wanted to talk about. And by the way, we are taking your phone calls, 702-957-1037. What do you think about Dogmen? Have you ever seen one? Have you ever heard of it? Do you think it's different from not just a Sasquatch, but a werewolf or a skinwalker? And what does this mean to you? So here we go. So this is the weird part. Now this starts to get really strange with Saint Christopher. In the Eastern Orthodox Church, certain icons covertly identify Saint Christopher with the head of a dog. The background to the dog-head Christopher is laid in the reign of the Emperor Diocletian, when a man named Reprobus, we'll just call that the reprobate or scoundrel, was captured in combat against tribes dwelling to the east of Egypt east of Egypt, we'll say it, to the unit of soldiers. According to the hagiographic, is that how you say that, narrative? Okay. My head's not right. Hold on. Give me just a sec here. Let me find this real quick. All right, so basically, the German bishop and poet Walter of Speyer portrayed Saint Christopher as a giant doghead, like an actual dog man in the land of the Canaan in the New Testament, who ate flesh and barked. Eventually, Christopher met the Christ child, who regretted his former behavior and received baptism. He too was rewarded with a human appearance, whereupon he devoted his life to Christian service and became an athlete of God, one of the soldier saints. So we have this Saint Christopher that actually supposedly, in biblical terms, was, well, a dog-headed thing, a dog. I mean, like a literal dog man, right? And there's some depictions of this, which seems, well, strange. I think that's probably the best way to put it. It's just weird. That's okay. Well, I guess we've got this dog man. Where was this photograph? I had this somewhere. Oh, there we go. All right. So okay, St. Christopher and this whole bit. So used to be a dog man, blessed by Jesus, and then boom, becomes a soldier of God or whatever, right? I'm paraphrasing. But yeah, it's a little bit odd, isn't it? Like this, how some of these stories kind of exist in terms of well, not just mythology, but we're talking about specifically with we're talking in the Bible, like things like this. It's like in biblical tradition anyway. So I don't know. Like this seems strange to me. It seems a little bit more more paranormal, more magical, more sort of back to that maybe offspring of Anubis type thing. But what does it mean? And that's what we're talking about tonight. So we'll get into some more of these Dogman stories and some of the things. But as we consider all this, not just this odd story about Saint Christopher, but other stories regarding not just sort of these things may be ultra smart, they may be huge and like ultra strong, these dogmen as described in some of these stories. Some of them may be telepathic as described in this first story we started with tonight from the New York Post, where the guy in Australia was being hunted by a dogman, which he got a picture of, by the way. So, I mean, if you're like, come on, Mike, this stuff isn't real, go check out his picture. I don't know, maybe, right? We're drinking the maybe juice and trying to figure this out. But so with all that stuff, right, all that stuff going on right now, with these stories, and people still seeing these today, and you could trace it back basically thousands of years with these dogmen things, the cynocephaly going on. I don't know. You tell me. And, well, yeah. So we're talking about maybe interdimensional stuff. We're talking about maybe they live in like the caves of the Hollow Earth sort of situation. You never really know, right? And that's what's going on with this, and that's why we like to discuss these things. Okay, so let's jump to another couple quick Dogman stories here, and we'll just keep on going. We'll keep on trucking with this stuff and looking to hear your take. If you want to be part of the show tonight, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Like I said, there's some pretty cool stuff out there on the interwebs. There's the North American Dogman Project, which has a map here that you can see. It actually has sightings, like Dogman sightings, and you can click on one of them. Let's go over to over near Nevada here, where I'm at, and Mineral County. Here we go. This is a little bit long, so I won't read this one. But there's an actual, you can see there's like an actual Dogman account in here, and exactly where this happened. Let's pick another one that's a little shorter here. Okay, that's still a little bit long. All right, so anyway, you get the point, right? It's a good thing that they're chronicling these sightings, but if you look at the map, there's a ton of this stuff, right? And so I guess this is how you track crazy people in the country, the Dogman sightings. Or I'm kidding, of course, but this is a lot. This is a lot of sightings. This isn't just one or two or three or four. I mean, this is pretty nuts. Okay, so let's go to more of these pretty good Dogman stories here. And as we know, a lot of these take place in Michigan. There's a lot of these stories, the Dogman stories in Michigan. So let's see. Let's do this one. This is from 1988. Alto and Lowell, Michigan. So here we go. So the first one here takes place in 1988 in Alto, just southeast of the city of Grand Rapids. This anonymous source in elementary school at the time was playing during recess around 10 in the morning. He decided to run out into the woods adjacent to the elementary school playground to hide and, of course, also cheat at the game of war they were playing. He made his way to a river by some train tracks when he heard a huge splash and witnessed a dark-furred dogman bolt into the woods, switching between 2 and 4 legs to run before disappearing. At this point, the narrator, the hero of the story here, ran straight home to his bed, keeping silent about his sighting until adulthood. He described it as 8-ish feet tall, 300 pounds, blue-eyed, and seeming almost like a timber wolf, but upright and with longer legs. And there you go. I think that's the there's a pretty good story there, and that's huge. 8 feet tall, 300 pounds, ice blue eyes, very much like we were kind of joking earlier in the chat with kind of like Game of Thrones and the White Walkers south of the wall, right? That whole thing. So I don't know. Or would that be north of the wall? My bad. But okay. Anyway, so pretty good stuff. If you have if you have this sort of situation going on, I don't know what to expect or consider, considering I've never seen one. But looking to hear your stories. If anybody's out there has ever seen or secondhand heard of somebody finding a dogman, seeing a dogman, or what are your theories on what this thing actually is? Like I said, there's tons of stories we could read on the internet and do most of that, but that's a little less boring than some fun speculation on what this stuff could be. So that's what's on my mind tonight, and love to hear your thoughts thoughts on this. And you can reach us at 702-957-1037. And it looks like, let's see, we got Daryl in the voice chat, but I'm not sure if Daryl's. Let me know, Daryl. I know you're out there if you're looking to get on the show or not. I've got a dog man right here, my little dog crying, but not quite dog man, just a little dog. But anyway, so we got some more. We're going to get to more of this, but there's some interesting things here. There's some interesting stuff going on with this, considering that the maybe juice is flowing. How far back does this actually go with some of the, again, back to the Anubis stuff? Is this like some sort of ritualistic thing, like Derek described it when he called with that they appear every 10 years in the number 7, right? So again, it's 2007, 2017, 2027. There seems to be a rash of sightings kind of in these cycles, in these 10-year cycles, and that seems to me to kind of suggest again more magic, right? Like you would expect something like that. And so I don't know. Again, like I said, I'm not the answers guy, because if I was, I'd just tell you the answers and be like, all right, show's over. There's your answers. Here's your dog man in the zoo. Go check him out, guys. Go prod him with the stick or whatever. All right, let's go to another couple of these. Let's see. We're at time-wise. We're good. All right, so let's do this. Let's go to, here's one from 1991, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and this is from Listverse. So the second story to enter into Frederick's report, let's see, okay. Pat Lester, where do we start this? Let's see. Hold on one moment, please. All right, so Doris Gibson was driving to a friend's house to pick up another friend from a party when she hit something on the thoroughly foggy stretch of Bray Road, causing her tires to lift off the ground. All right. And so, well, what do you think she hit? She got out of her car to investigate, thinking she had hit a small animal, but found signs of neither animal nor injury. So she made her way back to her car. That was when it lunged at her through the fog. Brown, straight fur, a canine face, a muscular frame, and striding on 2 legs. Gibson quickly bolted to her car door, not particularly in the mood to get a closer look. Quote, I just put my foot on the gas pedal and started going. Sounds like something out of a fantastic horror movie, right? And then, however, as soon as she tried to pull out of there, the upright canid tried holding onto the rear bumper of the car to prevent it from getting away. It is claimed that deep scratch marks were etched into the car's rear the next day. This is not where the story ends, though. On the way back that night, Gibson's new passenger and friend shouted, "Look at that thing." The two of them saw the same muscular werewolf-esque being, and Gibson took roughly 0 seconds before deciding to put the pedal to the floor and get the hell out of there. And yeah, right, as you would expect. And there's tons of stories like this. You kind of dig a little bit, and well, what is it? What is this thing? Is it once again? Is it some sort of ritual thing? Like What's Up, Lewis, in the chat there says mostly witchcraft or UFO genetic manipulation. What's going on with this? And what exactly is a dog man? So let's do it. I see you there, Tam. Let's see. What do we got? Who do we got? Let's see. Make sure we're good. Let's see. All right. So let's go to Tam Bam. What's up, Tam Bam in South Africa? Are you there? Can you hear me? Test 1 2.
Hi. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for calling. How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm cold, but I'm good.
Right on. Right on. You have a theory on Dogman here? What do you think's going on with this? And we're still on the radio, by the way, not third hour, just to remind you.
Okay. I am on Jennifer's side about Dogman. I really do believe they exist because there's just too much. There's just too many sightings. 1 person, 3 person, 100 people, yes. But thousands of people having sightings over how many years? Are we talking about 50, 100 years? There's got to be some validity to that. So I am with Jennifer, and the history and the documents also goes back ancient civilizations of this happening. So I'm definitely siding with they do exist. But okay. I actually called in to tell you about something weird that I stumbled upon about a few years ago. I think it was on Reddit, and there was this community of cryptid hunters, and they were really I just thought it was quite bizarre just stumbling upon this. And I did some research, and there are actually cryptid hunters out there who are following up on leads, whether it's vampires or werewolves or dogman or whatever. and it's a whole complete society. And if they can get information that actually formed a hunting group per se, then why can't it be real?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I mean, that's the weird part about this is there are some of these societies that do, you know, like again, like the North American Dogman Society, and they chronicle these stories. And so not only that, you know, we see these in some of these TV shows, they seem a little bit goofy, right? Like the joke is always, you know, finding Bigfoot or whatever these things are called, right? But it's the same thing. It's with it's not just with Bigfoot, it's with dogmen and cryptids and all these other things. There's people out there looking for them. And you got to expect too, I think it goes with Bigfoot as well, is that, you know, they're the vast expanse of the forest, and if these things are like ultra intelligent, good luck catching them. You know, they smell you coming, they hear you coming. They're not trying to end up on some sort of a, you know, well, the back of a truck, you know, with a bullet in them. They're going to smell you and take off if you're a threat. So what are your other theories here? So maybe animals or something else. Do you think there's something to it with maybe that Anubis thing that goes back? Is there some sort of witchcraft angle here, or you think it's just mostly sort of just an animal situation, like a cryptid?
No, I you know, if you take a look back in history, what scientists always like to dabble with ancient history and see if they can kind of come up with their own version. And that's, I think, what it is. So if Dogman existed back then, or however they wanted to call it, why not try and experiment with it today with genetics and manipulating DNA and whatever they do? We never know what they're doing behind closed doors. So I think all of it has a big role to play. What they're missing is that these cryptids, especially ancient ones, like werewolves, they are in and out of our spatial awareness. That we don't necessarily see them all the time because they don't really exist on the third dimensional plane. So we need to take that into account. But I wanted to go back just to the hunters, that they actually, this community is so big and so deep that they've studied cryptozoology. I mean, it's an actual thing to study, and you become a part of this, for lack of a better word, fraternity, and you get past this information from history down these lineages and from person to person when you're in these groups, that they kind of know how to capture or get information or have some kind of location beacon where these cryptids are. And this is, you know, if you go down to the dark web, there's a whole community of people who actually dabble in the findings of some kind of evidence, and it's a currency. You know, they sell this stuff. And it's very, very secretive. Obviously, we don't want them know. They don't want people to know about this. So it becomes even more valuable. And, you know, there's people who've got nails and fingers and teeth and heads hanging. You just never know. So I really do believe these things exist for sure. But finding one, catching one, that's a different story. That's got nothing to do with the general population. That's got to do with the people who are in this secretive hunting club.
Oops, I muted myself. Like the secret societies, right? They're sharing information and not letting it get out to the public. I dig it. I dig it. So tons of stuff here, including if they're hunting these things. Do you think it's just like a physical thing, or do you think there's maybe a witchcraft element to this? So like some sort of spellcraft to maybe try and catch these things, or are we just still trying to figure it out? What do you think with that?
Well, how do you get something from the fourth dimension to the third dimension? Because third dimension is physical. So we've got to have kind of a Tesla technology to kind of react with the cells, because it's all energy, right? To aggregate the cells so they kind of get stuck here. And then you use, you know, think about it. How many movies have we watched where they said, you know, how to kill a vampire, or how to, you know, using silver bullets on whatever, on a werewolf? That kind of has some truth to it. So maybe they are using these silver bullets to kill these werewolves. Who knows? But with regards to getting them here, it has to be, maybe you're right, maybe a witchcraft plus science, all of it above to trap these individuals, these creatures, sorry.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Like, who knows what kind of stuff. And again, it seems that some of it may be, the reason I ask about like rituals and witchcraft and things like this is because that one Dogman, when we first started, the definition is they show up every 10 years in cycles of the 7, right? Again, 2007, 2017, 2027. It seems to be at least part of the legend anyway. So it seems sort of ritualistic in nature to me. Maybe it's coincidence, but part of like a ridiculous folklore. Who knows? I'm open to all those things, but who knows? I think that's why we get together and talk about this. What we got maybe a minute and a half left. What are your other thoughts on Dogman here?
Oh, well, I'm scared of it. Obviously, I don't want to be alone in the forest and find one, but it's super interesting. I find all these creatures that live within us fascinating. Whether I want to meet one or not, that's irrelevant. We all know the answer.
Thanks, but no thanks.
Die. Yeah, thanks, but no thanks.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me. Perfect stuff. I appreciate it so much. Everybody follow Tam Bam. She's got a Instagram channel. Scroll down. Link in the description. Thank you, Tam. I appreciate the phone call tonight. You're the best.
Speak to you later.
Thanks a lot. Have a great one.
Bye.
There you go. Simple as that, guys. If you want to be part of the show, we take your phone calls on Discord. That's Tam Bam in South Africa. And like I said, we got people listening all over the world. So that's what we're doing. Get together and talk about all the bizarre things. And tonight is Dogman. And why not Dogman? There's that article in the New York Post where the guy says he was being stalked by a Dogman. So, okay, that's fine. Let's talk about Dogman. So what are your thoughts at the end of this? Like I said, there's no answers here. We're agnostic in the sense that you believe what you want to believe. I'm not trying to make you believe Dogman is real or not real. I'm asking what you think. Have you ever really thought about it? And kind of looking at some of the data points and some of these different organizations that get together and try to, what do they try to do? They try to find a Dogman, and they have, they list all this stuff, and there's evidence, there's footprints, and very much Bigfoot-esque. But in the end, what is it? What do you believe? That's really what this is all about. And if you haven't ever thought about it, maybe it's time. And yeah, a fantastic call. Great call from Tam Bam. Appreciate that very much. And all the amazing callers we got tonight and every night just about. We're like I said, an embarrassment of riches, all the amazing people that call into this show. I thank you all so much for carrying and for calling and giving us your take on this. So we're going to keep on trucking. You guys know how this works. If you're listening to us on the Fringe FM, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. Let me play some outro music here. And if you're listening to us on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds as we continue talking about Dogman and kicking the theories around, reading a few more stories, and just hanging out, doing our thing. So, as we finish, you kind of know the drill, don't you? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 7 p.m. Pacific is when we do Troubled Minds Radio, and we'll see you then. So the bad news is we're done. The good news is, God willing, we've got tomorrow. And as we finish, be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our Troubled Minds to yours, have a great night. All right, we are off the Fringe, and we got one more hour of Troubled Minds coming up. If you guys are interested, we'll keep on trucking here. Like I said, we got some stories to read and some other stuff. But what are your theories? I think that's the most fascinating thing here. Is it very much sort of Bigfoot style, where it's just like these things are critters deep in the forest, maybe living underground? Or do you think it's a little more complicated than that, in the sense that this may be some sort of ritual magic that creates these things or keeps them around, or some sort of dimensional portals where they kind of hop in and hop out of our reality? Of course, talking about Dogmen, and well, what all this could be. So, love to hear your thoughts on this. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And more Troubled Minds coming up. Quick 2-minute break. 2-minute break. Grab some more maybe juice, and back with your calls and more Dogman when we return. Be right back. 2-minute break. Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and tonight we're talking about, yeah, you guessed it, Dogman. Dogman. But it seems simple, right? Like I said, when we started tonight, it seems like it's such a simple thing, such a simple concept, right? There's a man-shaped thing that runs around with the head of a dog, and what's it doing, right? What's it doing? It's terrorizing people, it's attacking people, it's doing all kinds of stuff, right? But then what? Like, what can you add to that? It seems like some of these stories are all over the place, including, right, you'll never believe this, like we talked about earlier, maybe telepathic messages from Dogman, right? This guy from the original New York Post article that we talked about tonight as we began the discussion was describing him being stalked by this Dogman and then screaming this like dog-like roar, howl thing to like run him off maybe. And at the same time, he says he felt like a message in his brain that didn't come from him, but it came from some sort of something else, like it was being placed in his brain to run or you're going to die, right? A very direct threat from possibly even like a what would you say, like a telepathic threat, right? Like straight from the Dogman himself. So I don't know. That's the thing here. That's what we're doing, and that's what we're talking about and considering. So there's one of the weird things about this. Again, the blue eyes. They say they have these blue eyes, these Dogmen things. And then, there's more. So is it just animal, right? Like I said, it seems simple that it could be like Bigfoot-esque, sort of like an animal just chilling in the woods and kind of hiding and being smart and staying away from people. Or is there some sort of like interdimensional thing going on here where maybe they shift in and out and that's why we can't find them or we can't find their corpses or any of the rest of this stuff. So I have no idea, and that's kind of what we're talking about. Is there witchcraft involved here? Does this go back to the time of Anubis and the ancient Egyptians? Because, of course, Anubis, right, was a dogman. I mean, very clearly, obviously, the body of a person, the head of a dog. That was Anubis. So how does this all sort of fit together? Is it something strange, or what's up, Zen? When it says, I've heard a lot of stories that say they are telepathic. There you go. What's up, Lewis? I see there it says interdimensional, like Bigfoot, and that's kind of the questions I have. Is how deep does this go? Couple shout outs over on Rockfin. What's up, guys? I see you over there. We got Charlie. What up, Troubled Minds? How are you? What's up, Sherry? Thanks for being here. We're talking about Dogman tonight. Thank you, Tam Bam, for the call. Thanks everybody for the phone calls tonight. Amazing stuff, as always. Amazing takes on all the things that we do here. You like I said, you really make my world go round with all the amazing takes. So that's what we're doing. We're still taking your phone calls and considering all these things. So 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Phone number's up, and I'll read some of the chat. We'll be a little more social now. We're not stuck by the radio clock or commercials or any of the rest of that. We're just going to hang out and kick it and talk about some of this other weird stuff. Let's see what I can dig up here. I got all kinds of different stories and different angles about this. Here we go. This is a weird one, right? Now, let's go back to this. This is from godsandmonsters.com. And this is that Cynocephalus, however you want to say it. And let's see. Around 400 BC. Now, this goes back. Now, this is the craziest part, right? Like I was saying, some of this stuff goes way, way, way back. So around 400 BC, the Greek physician Theseus wrote the following passages translated from to English from Greek, describing the tribes of the Cynocephalus. Quote, "They speak no language, but bark like dogs, and in this manner make themselves understood by each other. Their teeth are larger than those of dogs, their nails like those of these animals, but longer and rounder. They inhabit the mountains as far as the river Indus," like the Indus Valley there. Their complexion is swarthy, They are extremely just, like the rest of the Indians with whom they associate. They understand the Indian language but are unable to converse, only barking or making signs with their hands and fingers by way of reply. They live on raw meat. They number about 120,000. And this goes back to 400 BC. The Greek physician Theseus, right? And I was reading some other stuff too, where they were saying that this is nothing more than just a racist way to describe Indians and things like this, which of course, right, in different times and different places, and even still today, like racism is an ugly thing, and I'm willing to buy that this could be the description here, right? But again, right, we're considering all the things. So instead of just that, well, what about if this is a real thing and not just a way to demean a different group of people? I mean, he's talking about 120,000 of them, like in these tribes or whatever, which seems crazy, but well, that's what we do, don't we? Drinking the maybe juice and crazy stuff. So yeah, I don't know. Cool. Thanks for hanging out. You're cool. You're cool, Zen-Wen. Listening mode's all good. All right, so that's the thing, right? Well, what's going on here with the Dogmen? And there's more to this, right? So there's more to this. Again, the Greek physician Theseus wrote that passage. It continues though. The Cynocephaly living on the mountains do not practice any trade, but live by hunting. When they have killed an animal, they roast it in the sun. They also rear numbers of sheep, goats, and asses, drinking the milk of the sheep and whey made from it. They eat the fruit of the Siptacora, whence amber is procured, since it is sweet. They also dry it and keep it in baskets, as the Greeks keep their dried grapes. So he's like, this is pretty long. He goes into detail describing not just these Dogmen tribes or whatever they are, but then continues an account of them and how their culture works, how they're raising sheep and all this other stuff, and what they eat and how they hunt and all kinds of weird stuff, right? And so what is this guy Theseus now? This Greek physician from 400 BC? Is he nuts? Is this guy just straight up insane? Like, what's up with him? I don't know. I think that's the question here, is that there's a lot of these, a lot of tales that are kind of like this, where you just scratch your chin and wonder, like, what the hell is this about? Like, did he really see like these tribes of Dogmen? And if so, where did they go? Where did they go? What's up, Eric? I see you there in the chat. How are you? Thanks for showing up. Hey, Michael, nice to catch a live show. Yeah, right. See, Night Stalker's got it right. A whole Dogman society. And if that's the case, right? So he's talking about kind of the butted up against the Indus Valley, talking about had good relations with the Indian people. Where did they go? Like, if this guy was actually talking about this in terms of, a literal thing here, 120, they number about 120,000. Where did they go? And I think that becomes the question here is, we've talked about the Hollow Earth and Agartha and things like this, and maybe different entities or individuals live underground, right, to hide from us, to hide from, clearly, I mean, this couldn't have been like a cool thing, right, like dog-headed people, dogmen running around, but they seem to be civilized. Pretty crazy stuff. Let's see. These dog-headed men were described in reports by famous explorers such as Christopher Columbus and Marco Polo, and this is from the Gods and Monsters website, which is a fantastic site, by the way. So anyway, there's more here. Let's see. So they are just and live longer than any other men, 170, sometimes 200 years old. So twice as long, right? Twice as long as the modern lifespan of a human person. And so it kind of makes you wonder, right? It says the dog-headed men were a fierce warrior tribe, but they also traded with the few humans they trusted. They were reported to live primarily in India and northern Africa, but were seen in many places in between. Perhaps the most famous Cynocephalus is Christianity's Saint Christopher, which I was trying to fumble out earlier, and I botched that terribly. But we'll read it here. So Saint Christopher, who is described in several texts as having the body of a man but the head of a dog. Not only that, but originally the future saint was said to have been a wild and fierce warrior who was captured in battle in Cyrenacia. Not only was this creature a very large man with a dog's head, but came from a warrior tribe of dog-headed men who looked similar to him. Interesting. Now we're talking about a tribe of these things, and maybe this is where the Saint Christopher came from. So in any case, let's see. According to Christian mythology, he eventually met Jesus Christ and learned the error of his former ways. He repented and became baptized and eventually received sainthood and the gift of a human appearance. Multiple historical images show Saint Christopher as having the head of a dog. And we did that earlier. Let's see. Where is the dog head photograph? Let's see. There it is. There you go. That's what we're talking about. There's Saint Christopher. Like this is straight up WTF, isn't it? Like what in the world is this? Like we're talking about a huge tribe of these things back around 400 BC, and what the hell it means? What does this mean? So the question tonight is, what do you believe about dogmen? Do you think they're real? Do you think they're fake? Do you think some of this mythology stuff, the St. Christopher bit, and this Theseus, the Greek physician from 400 BC, writing about a tribe of dogmen, 120,000 strong, you think it's all BS? I think that's the question here, right? What's up, Matt? Matt in California says, what about Fenrir in Norse mythology? That's another good one, too. Some of this stuff, right? How does it actually all fit together? I think that's the question, and why this is so fascinating to me, because it ends up in so many different areas, right? It could be just Bigfoot style, right? This is like a creature that retreats into the woods and is difficult to find, right? Super smart, super strong, and you just can't find it because it doesn't want to be found, right? Or is it, again, tracing back to Anubis and maybe some sort of like mythological deity or demigod, descendants of Anubis. I'm about to say Osiris. But yeah, so I don't know. I think that's the question tonight. What are they, and do you think there's anything more to it than just, well, they just might be like an undiscovered sort of thing, that they're out there, and with all the accounts we see, hundreds and thousands, like Tam Bam was saying. Thanks again for the amazing call, everybody out there. Appreciate it. We're still taking phone calls, though. If you're interested in this, what about this St. Christopher thing? What about this tribe of 120,000 dogmen way back in 400 BC that had good relations with the Indian people in the Hindus Valley there? What the heck is going on with this? And I'd love to hear your thoughts at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037 at troubledminds.org. You can click the Discord link and join us over there. And what's going on? Let's see what's happening. Ronald says maybe 7 years to us is 1 year for them. That might explain living 200 years, right? It's like the dog years reversed. Yeah, what's going on, Robert? I see you there on YouTube. You're cool, man. You're allowed to be late. It's okay. All right. So yeah, that's what we're talking about tonight. Dogman, and what is this all about? Do you think that there's something more to it than just stories, or and if you don't, that's fine. Like I said, there's no ill will if you're like, come on, Mike, this is garbage. That's fine. That's okay. That's why we get together and talk about this stuff, because how much of that is true, how much of it is not true. There's more here. Let's go back to this other thing. Let's see. Where is this? There's the Cynocephaly. All right. Let's see. More. There's always more here. So what else? What else do we got? Let's see. Mysterious and frightening cases of dogman attacks. The Michigan dogman. We already did that. Where is this? I was just reading this. There it is. All right. So this is again from godsandmonsters.com, and there's more. The great explorer Marco Polo mentions Cynocephaly indirectly while describing his travels to the island of Angamanian. There you go. So he says this, quote, in his journal, Angamanian is a very large island. The people are without a king and are idolaters, and no better than wild beasts. I assure you, all the men of this island of Angamanian, have heads like dogs and teeth and eyes likewise. In fact, in the face, they are all just like big mastiff dogs. They have a quantity of spices, but they are a most cruel generation and eat everybody that they can catch, if not their own race. And there you go. That's straight from apparently Marco Polo said this. So again, right? Is this a way that to malign people in a racist way to kind of demean them as dogs, right? Like I said, I'm open to these ideas of this type of stuff, but I mean, just in this one one article here, like there's lots of things going on. We're talking about 400 BC, like a tribe of dogmen, 120,000 strong. We're talking about Marco Polo seeing these things on this island called Angamanane. I can't say it because, well, yeah, I'm just me, and that's how I do things. I mispronounce everything. But I think, yeah. And then what about the Saint Christopher bit? That was, he was captured in battle as a dog-headed man, a dog man sort of thing, and he was eventually blessed by Jesus and became Saint Christopher. I don't know. I think this is super weird with this stuff because it's not just one story. There seems to be multiple threads from multiple sources throughout history, and they're talking about this stuff. What's Up, Eric says, Navajo skinwalkers or werewolves are medicine men using blood magic and animal skins to change their form to cause harm to people. And that's the question too. Do you think that maybe the dog man is a skinwalker, right? Maybe it's the same sort of thing, like a shapeshifter that kind of known as coyote or some of these other things, these maybe trickster spirits like we were describing previously. Maybe that's what all this is, and it's has nothing to do with like flesh and blood dogmen. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have these answers. Just kind of kicking the ideas around and considering all the things. So yeah. Let's see. What else do we got? Let's see. Let's see. Jennifer says, I bet they have the capacity to be extremely loyal and noble, man-eating aside. Yeah, right. I would hope so, right? A man's best friend? What about Dogman's best friend? Or like Matt said earlier, pretty funny, what about the mechanism that Jennifer described, how they ran off the dogs with some sort of a dogman whistle, right? Some sort of like contraption, which seems absolutely wild, but how else would you, right? Like dogs are super sensitive to that super pitch or particular thing. So why the hell not? Why wouldn't you? That's the type of stuff that you got to wonder about, right? Considering all the things, all the stories that we've heard. Is it all just a bunch of BS? Maybe. That's part of the maybe juice. You never know. You never quite know. Maybe. And the answer is always, I'm always go with maybe. So there you are. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let's see. What else do we got over on, What's Up? Sherry says aliens took them. Okay. The tribe of dogmen, the 120,000 of them. Aliens took them. Yeah. Tam Bam says this goes back so far into ancient history that we kind of can't deny its existence. Good stuff. Ronald says, as long as they don't take my beef jerky. There it is. Oh, yeah. Sherry adds fallen angels. And that's what Derek called in earlier, the Night Stalker. He was describing that as well. Definitely good stuff. So looking to hear your thoughts, guys, 702-957-1037. And I'll read some more stories. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff here. I was surprised at how much when you start digging into just like the Dogman thing, this really turns into. It's kind of quite a wild batch of stories. Again, Christopher Columbus. We're talking Marco Polo. We're talking Theseus, a physician from 400 BC. We're talking all kinds of stuff. Right? Pretty nuts. One sec. Gonna pour some more maybe juice, and we'll keep on trucking here. Okay, so again, if you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037 as I play with my dog down here, who's like, fetch, Mike, fetch. Fetch, Mike, fetch. Not a dog man, just a dog. And she's a bad dog most of the time. But anyway, all right, so let's get back to this. There's more. So again, Marco Polo, Christopher Columbus, we're talking about a tribe of dogmen, 120,000 strong back in 400 BC, talking about St. Christopher and Marco Polo describing this. So, yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. So here we go at the bottom of this. No one knows for sure what happened to this small but powerful race. It is believed that as the empires around them expanded, they were killed off. They were most certainly a warring tribe and would have preferred death in battle to succumbing to another culture's ways. Either way, they have disappeared from human view. Perhaps there are still some of them living in caves, awaiting a day where they may return to power. And that's an idea too. What if, all right, here we go. Now we're drinking the maybe juice, right? Maybe right here, if this was sort of a civilization back in the day and they were scattered to the winds by war, then maybe the sightings we're seeing today are these dogmen that have gone into hiding. I think I could see that, right? Yeah. What? What's Up? Lily says, I'd use a dogman as a bounty hunter. They have the acute hearing and sense of smell and be tracking you. Yep. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Thank you, Tam, for the article there. Interesting article. Let's check this out. Let's see. All right. Yeah, I think I've actually got this one ready to go. All right. So let's do some of this. Let's see. Thank you for the link there, Tam. Appreciate it. I got a bunch of stuff too, so we're good. We're good with information here. But looking for your thoughts on this. I think that's the question. What do you believe here? I think that's really what this comes down to. Is this we have accounts throughout history that seem to be pretty specific. Like again, a physician back in clearly it's only 400 BC. Meaning, probably not the scientific method, wink, wink, if you know what I'm saying. But it seems like a physician would take accurate notes on something like this. And this is the guy that's describing Theseus of the 120,000 Dogmen, the tribe that kind of lived near the Hindu's Valley. So, yeah, I don't know. Good stuff. What's up? Eric in the chat says, okay, I had a thought on werewolves and silver. How did that start, and would it work for werewolves who've never seen silver or known what it was? Why is it a weapon against them? That's actually funny you bring that up. That's already on Rockfin. It's part of the one of the first ones we did on Rockfin, talking about silver and why it actually affects creatures in folklore, not just werewolves, but other things. Good question, good stuff. Of course, we got jokes here. I love the jokes. Let's see. Derek says, what would happen if a giant tribe of feral people lasted for thousands of years? Maybe we get full on Dogman, right? It may, hopefully. I mean, maybe that's what we're looking at, right? I think that's the weirdness to it. Let's see. Jennifer says, referring to people as dogs, it's wide, meaning, yeah. Let's see. What else do we got? Just reading the chat, guys, hanging out. How's everybody tonight? What are your thoughts on a Dogman? And so we start here tonight. We can loop back if you guys. I know people kind of come and go as we do this, but this is from New York Post. Man claims he was stalked by terrifying Dogman monster in the Australian outback. And that's how this began tonight. I found this article today doing the news show, which we do on, again, Monday and Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific, and just on Twitch. And so I was like, we haven't ever talked about Dogman. Let's do it. And there's tons of stuff here. Again, Marco Polo, Christopher Columbus. We've got this physician. We've got St. Christopher. We've got all these different accounts of people seeing these things in modern times and actually ancient times. We got some of this skinwalker stuff. I don't know. Let's see. What else was this from, actually? This Dogman thing from this article. I don't think we got to the bottom of this. Let's see. He says this, right? I've never heard anything like it in my life, talking about the terrifying scream or howl of the Dogman. It would roar, and then it would take a breath in, but then the breath it was taking was actually louder than the roar it was doing. The creature just went to another level, and it was crazy. I could hear in my head something saying, "Go now or you'll die." It wasn't my own voice, my own consciousness. It was something else. And this is the part that's really where it gets really weird, because, of course, this is sort of that telepathic warning, right, that we were talking about, how it was being broadcast. And if that's the case, well, this turns into something else, and not just, like a feral creature that's, kind of mad or whatever. So anyway, he continues, that 10 minutes was probably the longest in my whole life. I thought I was going to be killed. I had no weapons, didn't even have my fishing knife, no phone service. And you can see he's actually got photographs of this thing that he took. So like I said, I'm not sure exactly what all this is about, but well, it is one of those things worth talking about, worth considering. Dogman, the Dogman. And we've done all, the Ozark Howler, the Ozark Howler. We've done old Shuck from the United Kingdom. There's like all kinds of these like wolf type hybrid wolf man sort of things out there. And what's going on? I see you, Paul. Morning, Mike. It's been a while since I listened live. Hello from Winslow, UK. What's up, buddy? How you doing? Let's see. Let's see. Okay. What's going on, guys? What are your thoughts on this? Like I said, love to hear what you think. Ronald says hellhounds. Yeah, we did a whole show on hellhounds. That was that old Shuck and that whole bit in the UK. Sherry says aliens took a lot of tribes but left the Dogon tribe on purpose. Ronald wants to know, do Dogman have a hunched posture from licking themselves when company comes over? Maybe. We'll call that more maybe juice. Let's see. What else do we got? What's going on, guys? How is everybody out there? Just kicking it, talking about Dogman, and look at some of these photographs. It seems weird. It seems weird. The St. Christopher bit with he was supposedly a dogman captured in battle that was blessed by Jesus and then turned into a human being. That's strange, right? There's some pretty bizarre stories here, and there's the actual photograph. So, yeah. So looking to hear from you guys. If like I said, if you're like, meh, Dogman's not my thing, that's cool. We got about 30 minutes left, but if I have to struggle here, like I said, not feeling well anyway, then we'll just end this a little bit early. So it's up to you. If you guys want to call and talk about this, I'm definitely your Huckleberry. If not, well, making me I'm working here, but that's okay. So let's go. There's more of this too. The strange history of Dogmen, right? Actually, this is the same. The Greek physician Theseus. Let's see. Here's another one. Let's go here. Let's go to, this is from mysteriousuniverse.org, which has some fantastic articles. They're a pretty good podcast as well. Let's see. The Greek explorer Megasthenes also told of encountering a race of dog-headed humans, where, let's see, this was in India. So same area, right? Who wore animal skins, lived in the mountains, and led a life of hunting, speaking with each other through barks and growls. The philosopher Claudius Aelianus wrote of the dog-headed man of India as a peaceful people who ate sun-dried animal flesh and also raised various livestock such as sheep and goats. When Alexander the Great invaded India in the 4th century BC, he too claimed in letters to his teacher Aristotle that he had encountered the dog-headed men. Alexander the Great even claimed to have captured several of the creatures in battle, which he said were fierce and vicious, barking and snarling beasts. The Greek historian Herodotus also wrote much on the existence of such creatures, which he claimed ancient Libyans believed inhabited the lands east of their own. He would say of them, quote, "For the eastern side of Libya, where the wanderers dwell, it is low and sandy as far as the river Triton. But westward of that, the land of the husbandmen is very hilly, and abounds with forests and wild beasts. Here too are the dog-faced creatures and the creatures without heads, whom the Libyans declare to have their eyes in their breasts." What in the world is this? That shit just got really weird. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to this. Like I said, a lot of the stories, like Tam Bam said when she called there seems to be too many stories that just write this off as absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. So, yeah. There you go. What's up, guys? We got Tam here. Going to jump Tam in real quick, and let's see. Okay, let's go back to Tam. Like I said, yeah, you guys are welcome to call back if you got more to talk about. Let's go to Tam Bam. What's up, Tam Bam in South Africa? How you doing? What's up?
Fine. How are you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for whoops. Let's go back here. Thank you for bailing me out. Go right.
Hey, Mike.
Hello.
Mike.
Yes. Tam Bam, how are you?
I'm good. I'm relaxed now. It's the 3rd hour, so I can do my thing.
Let it rip. Absolutely. 100%.
All my friends.
Thank you.
Cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. Any other ideas here? So some of that stuff kind of came at the end of the show there after you called, but I mean, we're talking about a tribe of 120,000 dogmen. We're talking about St. Christopher that was, right? Like, where did they go? I think that's the craziest part here.
Listen, until we know for sure, we really don't know, but I'm going to spit out a few theories. So the one, like you said, could be underground, inner earth, or have their own civilization. There are massive caves below earth where they actually kind of have their own kind of forest and, whole ecosystem and, there. So they could be there. Or, like Sherry said, they could have been abducted by aliens and taken to a separate planet. Or, if don't laugh, but I heard this theory that Earth, like our continents, is what we're shown, but actually there's continents outside that we aren't shown. So there's a big ice wall, and beyond the ice wall are other continents. They might be there. That is also a very, very far-fetched theory, but it's a theory. So they could be anywhere. I mean, where did the Mayans go? Where did the ancient Egyptians go? You know?
Yeah, I've heard that theory that the Earth we live on isn't exactly all there is. There's more to it. There's more land hiding somewhere far, far, far out there beyond boundaries we're not allowed to access. So I think all that's valid. I would think clearly the easiest way for a huge tribe like that to just disappear, other than being slaughtered, of course, like was described in some of this stuff, was for them to just go underground. I mean, there's a lot of that in history of people going underground to survive all kinds of different things, right? So I think all this is definitely valid talking about this stuff because until we catch one and get a Dogman interview, how the hell are we supposed to know?
And unless we have a translator, because I don't speak dog/wolf. I mean, I could try, but I'd probably swear and say mean things. But I don't know. Yeah. It's a complicated thing to think about because for me, I mean, I really believe that they were real and they existed and there are some roaming today, but where the fuck are they? Like, where's your homies? But then again, I could say the same thing for Bigfoot. There's so many sightings, but where are your homies? Where's your tribe? And you've got to take into account that these aren't things that we can really see. And the world is bigger than what we think it is, and that 80% of the population really live close to cities, where the money is. So the world is bigger than what we actually seem, or what it seems like.
Yeah, 100%, and it just makes sense that they would hide. I mean, they're talking about them in some of these things as enemies, ferocious fighters, a warlike tribe. I mean, eventually somebody's going to have to take them down, right? I mean, otherwise we'd all be dogmen, wouldn't we? If somebody.
Well, listen, I don't think one of our armies, probably today, but back then, I don't think our armies could have taken on a whole army of dogmen, seeing as if you take the size of them literally, they were bigger than us, stronger than us, and they had fucking teeth and claws. How would we survive? So I really do think I don't know what to say. I love cryptids, so I just called in to talk about cryptids.
I appreciate it, saving me from myself. Good stuff. I don't know. I think there's a lot to this. Like I said, it's kind of wild when you start to look at all the angles here of what this stuff could be. And again, right, I'm open to the fact that it's all BS too. That's manufactured.
Yeah.
Misidentifying, skinny bears or something. I don't know. And like I said, if it was maybe, right? Maybe juice. Definitely.
Yeah. And what if maybe over, let's say, this is now very, very theoretical because evolution, whatever, it takes millions of years. But just say evolutionary wise, that maybe they've gone from dog men or to domesticated dogs. Or it's another species. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they're related somehow. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's why the dogs in our homes are man's best friend or more tolerant towards humans than other animals are because of the relationship ancient history where dog men and humans did actually interact.
Yeah. I'm with you. 100%. Like I think the odd part is, well, they're gone, and if we're talking about like a tribe of 120,000 strong of them, it makes me wonder. Maybe when we find these caves and go underneath, there's going to be like a whole tribe of dogmen down there that've been down there for thousands of years. That'd be something.
Holy shit! Eric Johnson just said, "Is Red Riding Hood a tale about dogmen?" That is a very good question. Is this a story from folklore that's passed down that actually did fucking happen with the Dogman? That's
maybe.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's the good stuff right there. Red Riding Hood. What's up, Eric? Thanks for the great comment there. Yeah, I don't know. I think, and that's why we do this, right? But again, like look at all the different sources, like historical sources that literally say this. Mm-hmm. So here's the other one too, where they're saying that it's all racism, right? They're just calling. It's in the links. It's where they're just calling brown people dog faced or whatever. It's in one of these articles.
Hold on. is this now recent history people calling it racism?
No, well, I know, right? Once again, no, it's not like from Vice, if that's what you mean. No, it's not. So it's like an actual historian discussing, explaining away the armies of dogmen by saying it was a racist thing. They were calling, Indians or whatever dogmen themselves. So just as a side, just as a sidelight, like I said, but it's part of this conversation. But it's not Vice, if that's what you mean. Because Vice.
Well, I'd rather believe in a dogman than tolerate racism. Because dogmen are actual things that I could respect and tolerate. Racism, I won't.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. 100%. I'm with you, Tam. I appreciate it. What else you got? Any other ideas on this or anything else we've been talking about tonight?
I don't know. Can you tell me what else you were reading? The St. Christopher one was fascinating to me.
That's pretty wild.
Hey, right? I mean, to think that he was, if in a way he was cursed, and then Jesus came and saved him. I mean, you guys know I'm like a big Christian, but I'm very open-minded. So this hones into, I mean, if there was ever a culmination point into, the weird and wonderful to Christianity, this would be it. And I love that correlation because for me, it affirms that both exist, both intertwined, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. And so the story goes, they captured him in battle, the St. Christopher, and he had a dog head. He was a dog-headed warrior and ferocious, and then eventually he was turned into human form by a blessing from none other than, that's Jesus Christ. So I'm with you. So some of these tales seem wild, right? But if that's the case, right, then this is some sort of curse.
Maybe it is a curse, and maybe it also was a demon possession. And demon possessions, I don't know if you know, but they come in different forms, and you can actually physically, your body can actually physically change in some way. Maybe it was a misrepresentation of what the physical changes looked like. Maybe someone said it looked like a dog man. I don't know, but it's just the theory is wonderful. I dig it. It's right up my alley.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Yeah, good stuff. And so I don't know what else. What else did you hear? What else?
I just want to say, if you're not feeling well, we're your online family, and if you're not feeling well, you can go and rest.
It's barely. It's okay. It's okay. It's barely. It was one of those
very hard.
I'm okay. I'm okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I know that. I just, I knew that if I didn't do it, like I was just about to be like, next time. But then I was like, well, I'm going to hate myself tomorrow because I just need to tough through it. It's no big deal. It's honestly no big deal. It's just like, it was one of those ones, kind of a little bellyache before I started. And it's like, but it's actually even better. So I'm good now. I'm good. It's fine. But
is it like a man, no big deal? Or is it like...
No, really no big deal. Really no big deal.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. It's fine. Totally fine. So thank you for caring. I appreciate that.
Of course, we all do. Shit.
I know. Thank you. All right. So why not? Why not Dogman? Right? I don't know. So
why not?
Why not? I mean, the guy said this sighting was from a year ago. I think that's the weird part of this is that all the different theories here. This is still happening. We got these old stories from literally 400 BC and beyond, and we have this guy happened to this dude in Australia last year. So, yeah.
Right? Yeah, but listen, we talk Australia. The Australian continent is the size of America, and you got to take into account that the population of the people really, it's so tiny of where they actually reside, and the middle of Australia there's nothing. So there's every chance for animals or cryptids to roam, aliens, you name it. There's every chance of that shit happening there. Because no one goes there. It's too fucking dangerous.
No one goes there. As what's up, Lily? Lily lives in Australia. we got some folks that live in Australia. Nobody goes there except for Lily and some other people. But meaning there's a whole lot of wilderness there. That's super dangerous, right?
Yeah.
All those venomous snakes and all most deadly snakes in the world all over there. Yeah, no
spider.
Spiders. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, kangaroos are also dangerous. You know, they're cute from far, but they also can give you a black eye. But that's the thing. So anything can happen there. I mean, anything can happen where nobody is. So very little happens where people are, population of people are, and a lot of things happen where population isn't. So people going camping, that's pretty much why a lot of stories come from people who go camping, because it's wilderness. There's no cities, cars, and shit like that. It makes sense, right?
Yeah, and plus we're going to shoot them. I mean, nobody wants to deal with that.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Hilarious comment from Sherry over on Rockfin. Sherry says, we tamed their ass. I guess that's where they went.
We did. We made them our bitches.
Exactly.
But a dog man, that dog woman wouldn't be offended by calling her a bitch because she is.
There you go. Quite literally by definition.
Right.
All right. So we got you're welcome to stay, of course. We got Kelly here.
Yeah. Kelly Belly.
What's up, Kelly? Kelly in Colorado. How you doing, my friend? Are you there?
How you doing?
Doing very well, thank you. Just hanging out, talking about weird stuff. And tonight, it's Dogman. Oh, the Dogman.
Oh, the Dogman, huh? Is that of Australia?
The Dogman is everywhere, actually. So the one we found, we talked about this on the news show earlier, and to start this show off, is this guy claims last year he was tracked while he was in the river by what appears to be a Dogman. He's got photographs and everything. And it sort of like howled at him, and he says this is the crazy part, right? It was some sort of like maybe telepathic message. Here he says, this creature just went to another level and it was crazy. I could hear in my head something saying, go now or you'll die. It wasn't my own voice, my own consciousness. It was something else. So that's where this started tonight and kind of led down all kinds of rabbit holes regarding Dogman, basically. And it's all over history. It's pretty nutty stuff. But that telepathic Dogman thing is what kind of kicked us off tonight.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It reminds me of this movie me and Michelle went and seen. It's called, you ever seen it? It's called The Great Wall.
Never seen it, no.
It's with Matt Damon, but he's like got captured by the Chinese, and he's at the Great Wall of China. And what's interesting for me is that I always wondered about the Great Wall. I mean, I understand, like, you have enemies and you're trying to protect the border, but to make it that goddamn long and that huge, and in some parts, there's a Great Wall that's underneath in caverns, a Great Wall, and it reaches all the way down to the ocean. For me, and I've always thought this was that maybe it was giants or some kind of weird creature that was attacking, and they had to make the wall that big. But in the movie, The Great Wall, it's exactly like that. They have these weird creatures. And if you was to pull it up, you'll kind of see what these things look like. It almost looks like a Dogman. They're really huge. They run on all fours, but they got these real huge giant mouths. But they come by the thousands, and they only come like at a certain time. And in the movie, that's the real reason why they built the wall. But they have like these bands of warriors. They do different things along the wall. One of these women, they like kind of like spin them down on these ropes, and and they obviously they know some kind of martial arts. They spin themselves back up like a yo-yo up these ropes, and they're battling these what look like a Dogman or like I don't know. It would kind of look like a giant werewolf, kind of like weird thing. It's got a hind legs. It's like it just runs on all fours. But these creatures and there's different types. But the ones that are running around on all fours look kind of remind me of that whole thing of a Dogman. But I know there's other stories. There's some like werewolves and that whole type thing. But yeah, that's it's just pretty interesting. And the reason why I came in late, so I kind of heard you guys talking about Australia. And the interesting thing, because I've been to Australia once, been to Brisbane. We pulled in a port there, but, you know, Australia is a very different continent, you know, and it's only one continent that has like different animals that's nowhere else in the world. So if you're gonna find cryptid, I'd probably say Australia would be a place that where you'd see, because it's kind of like, you know, desolate in some areas, kind of like Africa, where it's just desert, or, you know, it's very hard terrain to, you know, to cross. But, you know, there's people that do, but still, you know, it's very dangerous, and it's just like the outback in Australia too, and including with, you know, the Aboriginals that come with their ancient stories. It's, you know, they got some pretty crazy stuff on, you know, that happened on that continent as well.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. The outback is, again, they say one of the most treacherous places on Earth, and tons and tons of that's uninhabited. So I'm with you. Lily lives there and says that the ocean's more dangerous than the bush. And I can believe that too. Definitely wilderness in both cases. Yeah. So there's some crazy stories too, Kelly, that I don't know if you missed them, but like an old, from 400 BC, like a physician wrote notes on not just like a dogman, but like an entire society of these things, like 120,000 strong back living around the Hindus Valley in India and that sort of thing. So I don't know, pretty wild that you have this going on with a ton of them. It just seems strange, like, you know, kind of opens up a lot of questions if that was real, and not just them, Marco Polo, Christopher Columbus, the story of, there's a whole bunch of stuff that kind of lends to this idea that maybe dogmen at some point in history were real. But if that's the case, where did they go? I mean, he's talking about 120,000 of these things, for crying out loud.
That's, that I haven't heard that story, but India has they have thousands and thousands of different type cryptid, and like their gods, you know, that come down. And this is so crazy. They're not the only, you know, besides Egypt with their pantheon of weird, you know, type gods or deities or whatever creatures they have, you know, or elephant. I know they got like this elephant, you know, like one of their gods looks like an elephant face or something like that. But yeah, I mean, in the Hindus Valley, all through there, you know, like that's, you know, the mountains, like within going into Pakistan and Afghanistan and stuff like that too. I mean, you know, that's where you heard the story of like, you know, the Marines and they attacked that giant of Kandahar. I mean, yeah, there's tons of stories that run all through that areas, you know, and that, like I'm saying, it goes up towards where the Great Wall would be at, you know, on that side, down the eastern side of China, which kind of, you know, they were separating themselves, obviously, from, you know, like the Mongolians or whatnot. But again, to me, it's, you know, like, well, are these stories true or not, you know, because they've talked about within, and especially that, I've never heard that story of 120,000 strong. That's pretty, to even think about that is pretty crazy.
Yeah, they described him as being sort of a warlike tribe, but they were farming, and they would hunt and kill their prey and cook it in the sun, sort of like tanning it like jerky. And they would you know, they had sheep and goats and all the rest of this. I mean, pretty wild. Like it's kind of a detailed account of this society, this dogman society, whatever the hell it is. And you know, it is again from 400 BC. So it makes you wonder, right? Like what kind of good stuff was this guy on, or is it possible that there were like an actual dogman society? You know?
Yeah, that's where I was, you know, kind of getting at, to where, like I said, like their deities were, you know, people think, you know, mainstream science would call it you know, just imagination, or it's just, you know, it's just fairy tales or whatnot. But man, the details that some of these, and like the Indian, the ancient Indian texts, Sanskrit, those are very detailed too. It's just like the flying vimanas, you know, the UFOs that they and they even told you how to break it down, how to build them, what was on each level of each Vimana. I mean, it's these stories are not just okay. Well, yeah, we've seen it in the sky, or like kind of briefly in like the biblical sense, but like they go into detail. So, I mean, I would like to get it. Maybe I'll have to take a delve in down that rabbit hole about see what they're talking about. But again, like I was saying, they're gods, and with them, it's crazy. It's like they knew about UFOs, and their gods were different aliens. I mean, because they drew them, and every single one of them were like, some of them were green skin, blue skin. The gods with different faces, just like Egypt. But for them, it was just like they accepted it. It was just something that was there. It wasn't that it was crazy. But these. To think about that one would be, I don't know, man. That's pretty crazy. I mean, they would have to be a huge type person or being or beast, if they're hunting different animals and taking them down like that. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And so, but there's more too, right? So not just that. There's that account, and there's that other account of Saint Christopher. I don't know if you heard that one, where they say that in battle they captured a dogman who was ferocious, and he was blessed by Jesus, and it turned him into a person, and the person became Saint Christopher, and a staunch supporter of Jesus after that, and converted to Christianity and the whole thing.
That's the story of Saint Christopher, huh?
One of them, anyway.
I've never heard.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. I was pretty shocked. The more I was digging a little bit tonight, and I was like, "What the hell?" Like, there's all kinds of stuff here with the Dogmen. And back to Anubis too, right? That whole thing. We were talking a little bit about maybe genetic engineering earlier. That type of thing, like we've described in the past with the Egyptians and all the rest of this. But I don't know, man. Does any of this that you're aware of fall into that Anunnaki story at all? You think that these Dogmen may be related to that whole thing?
Well, the only way I would say that is, because they always, like, the reason why I went with Zachariah Stinson, it was called The Lost Book of Enki, right? And he has the 12, I have all of his books, but right now most of them are in storage because, like I said, I got out of the Navy, and I still need to move it over here to Colorado, but yeah, I have all of his books, but the main one I went to was, The Lost Book of Enki, because it was about him, but, what's interesting about Enki is, he was the scientist, right? He was the one that, they almost like a mad scientist, he was the one that, messed with DNA. Very intelligent person, if it's anything, a being, whatever creature they were. But he was the one that was like their chief scientist, the ones who like created all the spaceships, for safety-wise, mining, all the machinery that was used within, that they mined here. But the creation of human, and also the other creations that he says that he had. So and that's almost kind of like with, they talk about the Igigi. Again, those really don't know exactly what they exactly look like, They talk about them as if they were very strong type species. They were, they're the ones that did all the digging and, all the stuff before they created man to take their place, because they did that shit for so long. But I don't know, man. He's creating with DNA, and how he mastered that. I'm pretty sure they would had to have, make something bigger, stronger, faster, and they tinkered around with everything. So that's not something that, out of that realm of possibilities because of that reason. And I'm sure, like, again, when they were first trying that out, even in the beginning, they only had like 1 and 2 humans. They were trying to make a pair, male, female, but each one were as a step. Like, again, they wasn't like a mass production until they mastered of what they were needing, because it was like they were tampering. We had like arms growing out. We couldn't talk. We were blind. The creatures that they were making, until they perfected the DNA mixture of what they needed to have here on the planet. That's where the whole, I believe, in my theory, is that like the went to Magna Bowl, because they talk about they had, they were doing the admixture of the DNAs inside of a crystal bowl that was from Nibiru, and it wasn't working. So he came up with saying that they needed to the mixture in something that's the Earth. So they made it a clay bowl here from Earth, and that's where the DNA came together better, and they created what we have now as human. But at the same time, that bowl was found in Bolivia, but it had got Sumerian writing on the inside, or a pre-Sumerian text. And I don't know, man. It's not like I said, it's not for me. It's not out of the possibility that it would have been Enki and his son, genetically modifying. Just give them, okay, we see this creature of this planet. Let's give them strength of a gorilla or a lion. That's where maybe they were trying with that, but then they were creating half beast. They needed more strength for like pulling and stuff, and that's where you get those weird creatures that look like that was more like in India, or not India, but Iran, right, where their god was. They look like half, I would say, I don't know, like a giant, strong ox or something, and their upper body was human. So I don't know if the DNA they were trying to add just like sight or hearing and add that to the human. Maybe they had still to add the human or the animal DNA into like the chimera or whatever. They couldn't just just take that the eyesight or the hearing or something, but they still had to add the animal part to it. They couldn't separate that. Maybe that's the issue that we're seeing.
Yeah, and a lot there too. Like, I think it's hard to ignore some of that stuff. Some of the old, again, back to the Egyptians and whatnot. With maybe there is that hybrid thing going on. I mean, Anubis, right? I mean, literally, they have it like you always say, Kelly, carved in stone. Did somebody at some point see that, or right? I mean, that's the weirdness for all this. And if we're talking about like kind of a genetically engineering people, like I think the Minotaur, right, is what you were describing, is like it's if that's the thing, right? We've talked about hybrids before. We're doing it now, so I don't think if you're talking about like an ancient civilization that was trying to genetically modify things to create a worker race, some of it makes sense, 100%.
Yeah, because then you have like, okay, with the Greek pantheon, they had like the Minotaur, right? The guy with the bull head or whatever. But you have what's interesting, and even like Medusa, she was like a woman with snakes. She could turn you into stone. But again, we kind of briefly spoke about this on one show, but it was, for me, it's not like they were, like I said, it's something that they would, like mass produce like a human, to give it an ability to, reproduce. That was the issue with that, was when they first made us too. It was like the reproduction issue. But if they have some beast like this, it would be, I don't know, man, just like a scientist, you want to see how long it would live, to see if, if anything, if it could reproduce, or, what is the whole mentality, or what could we use this creature for? You know what I mean? And sometimes that, like Medusa, or even, the Minotaur or someone like that, or, like these water creatures are coming out of the water, half animal beast or whatever, It's interesting to see it, because that's not a, look what we're doing now. We're China is already, doing half pig, half human chimeras, because they're close related with the organs and stuff. But if you messing with DNA, who knows, you could never see what we could do, because there's a lot of different animals, creatures, plant life, or whatever, what have you, that's close down into the cellular level, or how you could even combine them. But again, like I said, maybe you can't just separate. I want to better his eyesight. Maybe you have to have the bird head or the bird eyes, literally. Or do you have to have the strength of a lion, but yet you have to have that part of the body of the animal still connected with the creature you're trying to create. So it's pretty interesting, man. I don't know. It's because, like I said, just like you said just now too, I've been saying, these creatures were not just painted on walls. They were carved in stone. They were seen as like they were really real. They were here, amongst the people.
Exactly, and even in modern times, like you said, some of this stuff is happening, but they've done weird stuff like fused the head of a dog on another dog, so it had like a two-headed dog, and it survived for like a couple of weeks, I think, something like that, right? That was back in Russia. I mean, this is the type of stuff that they're actually doing now. So and that's not even talking about genetically modifying. That's just surgery, so I think you add in like all kinds of level of technology, and this turns into a really weird world super fast if there were those ancient technological civilizations. Pretty nutty stuff.
Yeah, there was even like the video you seen where it was in India. It looked like they call him a dog man too, who's running around with a pack of dogs. But he looked, I don't know, man, that video looks strange because he looks like a human, skinnier guy, but he has really long legs. Like his front arms are really longer. His hind legs, they kind of bend like a dog, the opposite with the knee or whatever. But yeah, he's running around with a pack of dogs. Somebody filmed him, and he's literally playing, like I'm saying, it's like a whole herd of dogs. And this creature or whatever the hell it was is running around on all fours. But he looks like he should be doing that. You know what I mean? Like that looks normal for him. But he looks like a human body. I don't know, man. They got some weird cryptid shit. Like people record some crazy shit that's, they've never seen before. Or you even hear stories, kind of like when I was stationed in Maryland, they had the Maryland goat man. Then you have the moth man that's over there in those areas on the East Coast. These weird cryptids that just, people run into them. Maybe, I don't know. Are they again not part of this place, or are they underground? Where do they go? Kind of like what what Tandman was talking about. Some of this, I could see the onesie twosies. You're not going to really see or find bones if they took them with them. But if you're talking about 120,000 strong, you got to have something.
Yeah, exactly. Like where does that doesn't come out of nowhere? For sure, 100%.
Yeah. Can I just say something quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I just Kelly, you always drop schooling us and everything, but I just want to say we mustn't forget that before humans, there were other creatures. So we don't know what other civilizations were here before humans even roamed the earth. That really has to say something. That's, the contributions to all kinds of cryptids that still do roam the earth. I don't think we should forget about that.
No, not at all, because that's a good point right there. Because we've talked about. Look at all the weird stuff that we found with bones, right? From dinosaurs all the way up, and even those were different type of species. Or you find like what we call mixed breeds or something, where you're seeing like flying spiders or some shit like that. But yeah, or even like if you have giant people, you also have small people. Like small creatures, like even all the way down to what we would call fairies. And a lot of people, what interested me was when they found that hidden room over in Europe. I believe it was in England, where this man, it was like out of a story where the guy had, like, there were all these little creatures. One of them looked like a werewolf. One of them looked like a fairy with wings, or not even a fairy, just a person or like a little creature with rings. And he has them like, like a fucking little, I don't know, like a laboratory, you know, like he has them spread open like on a, you know, to see the insides and shit like that. And some people were thinking it was fake, but I don't even know what happened with that story or whatever happened with all those little animals and creatures. They had pictures of it, you know, and show you what it looks like, you know, trying to make it laughable, but the shit was fucking real. I mean, look at it.
There's actually a guy to this day who's got a YouTube channel who goes out into the forests and he finds fairies and pixies. And whether it's real or not, I like to believe that it's real. He actually has footage of these little things creeping up on him. And I mean, he has to wait there for a while. And there's obviously locations where he's mapped it out, but this is his life's work. And these things to him are very, very real. So I don't know.
Yeah, you know, there's another story. I don't know if you heard of it, and it's also what country is it? I think it's over in Europe, but they believe in like I think they would call them trolls or like, you know, little human, but they live in rocks, right? They're magical, and the only ones who could really see them are kids. Kids, you know, their imaginations are not with, you know, what they're, you know, once you get older. But it's weird. I mean, I'm talking the whole country believes in this shit. Like, there was this one hillside that they needed to do maintenance or work on it. And they had to ask with the kids, you know, because, like, again, they talk with them most. But they also said that they had to move this rock. But the rock was, like, one of these creatures' homes. And they were saying, you know, they didn't want to disturb them. And they needed to move the rock to do the maintenance. And they put the rock back. And it was crazy because it was like, yeah, the whole country believes in that. I can't remember. It was like, it wasn't Ireland or it was like, man, it's a country over in Europe, and it's a trip too. I got a story. It has to do with, I don't know if it's a cryptid, but I was talking with my friend, right? Last time I went up here for my niece's wedding up into Alaska. And I have a buddy, he's an electrician, and he does a lot of work in these villages, these out in what they call the bush, right, out in Alaska, and these Native American or Eskimo villages. And in those villages, I mean, they're deep. You have to fly in. There's no other way to get in there. You can't because of the tundra so thick, you know. They have to fly in on these what they call puddle jumpers, these little airplanes. But he was telling me this story about when he went into these native villages. He was doing a maintenance on. It was like a clinic they were doing, okay. And they told him one of these times that like you need to, like, at night, if you're gonna work at night, you kind of have to, you know, keep quiet because they were talking about these little creatures, you know, like these little people. And, you know, my buddy was like, yeah, fuck, whatever, you know. He's not a one to believe in anything like that. But he said that this is the trippy shit that made him believe, is that whatever he did, I guess he pissed these people off or whatever these, you know, he didn't really believe in them, right? And he would just, like, make a noise like what he was going to do, the maintenance he needed to do, right? Well, he left his work bag, right, with all his tools in, and he went back to the house to go, you know, he for break, you know, just to get something to eat. When he came back, he was looking for his bag, and it was moved into another room. And when he opened up his bag, it was full of fucking flies. The whole bag was full of flies.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, like flies. He was like, what the fuck? He tripped out. He had to dump all the flies out, right? They were all dead, too. They weren't, like, you know, alive. And so he was like, he tripped the shit out, you know? He was like, what the fuck? And because he was like, you know, it was just a tool bag. There was no food or anything like that. But it was his whole bag, he said, was stuffed with dead flies. He was like, what the fuck, man? So he was like, yeah, he just bounced out and didn't ever work at night again.
That's pretty.
Yeah, I could too.
Yeah, it was. He told me that story. I was like, what, bro? He's all, yeah, man. He goes, I shit you not. He goes, I fucking came back. And
shit.
All my goes everything, even my little drawers he had, like that he had to have the paste that he put in. He goes, even the little jars and shit were all open up and they were stuffed with flies. He goes, the whole fucking bag was full of flies.
Did he take a photo?
No,
Why?
he didn't. That's what I said. I was like, did he get? He goes, no, man. He goes, I just tripped the fuck out. He goes, fuck, I was there by myself. He goes, and all these ancient stories about these small, like midget people. He goes, and I didn't fucking believe in his shit. He goes, I was just doing my shit. He goes, but then I came back. He goes, bro, it was about 15 minutes. He goes, that many flies? He goes, someone had to fucking stuff that shit. He goes, because that shit was stuffed. His whole bag was stuffed with dead flies.
Maybe it was a gift.
Oh, yeah. They told his ass to get the hell out of here.
Exactly. Hey,
maybe it was their life supply food. You don't know.
Don't know. I'm not trying to eat a bag of flies. What's up? We got welcome the mighty Rohan to the show. The famous Liam Martin. What's up, brother? Are you there?
Hey, brother. How you doing? You all right?
I'm doing good. Chilling. Having a good time. Talking with my friends about weird shit. You know how that goes. And tonight it's Dogmen and these weird stories, man. There's some pretty bizarre stories, too. What do you know about it?
I've heard tons of them. Funnily enough, I used to. I listened to a bunch of the Dogman stories on the internet. You get Dark Waters put a load together last year and like hours and hours of it, so I heard tons of it. But I always remember there was one that stuck out in my mind about these workers on the Mexican border. I don't know if he was doing power lines or something. And I thought that was a particularly interesting story because they had zones that you weren't allowed to go in each day. And the supervisor used to announce where you don't go and tell people what zone they've got to be in. And these guys went one time, they said they saw people trying to run across the border. So they got looking through the binoculars, checking these people trying to run the border. And it said, they got these massive dogs chasing after it. So he thought it was interesting, seeing these dogs running, looking really big. But then he thought it looked like one of them got sliced by this massive dog. So he thought he was just seeing things. So he told his mate to have a look, but he didn't say anything. Importantly, so he told his mate to have a look, and his mate was laughing. Oh, look at them dogs, they're having a field day. And then his mate stopped laughing, and it was like, they're not dogs. Do you know what I mean? And it was like, what the hell is that? And then everyone seemed to have fallen, right? So they're thinking, what? And they've done the work. So by this time, they're like, these things start running towards them, these big dogs. So they're thinking, crap, you know what I mean? Let's get out of it. We're done anyway. Let's go back to office, sort of thing. And the supervisor collared him and took him in the office, and he said, look, I'm really sorry, guys, but I'd screwed up the announcements this morning, and you weren't supposed to be in that zone, and it was dangerous for you, and I'm really sorry. And the weird thing about it was they said they used to be told you can't go in the zone because we've got DX756 in the area, and they didn't know what that was. So they assumed it was just some crap, or make it sound like a project, doesn't it? Like some kind of super secret DX756 or like some kind of chemical. But that's what they called it. But the supervisor straight up said, look, if people really knew what was going on down here, we'd never get any work done. So we keep people away, but we've got to let you go. We've got to fire you. And it was like, you're going to fire us, man? It's like, we can't have people knowing, because we're not going to be able to get any staff. So they just laid them off, gave them a 13 grand severance check the next day. So basically been paid off, haven't they, to shut up, like. So I thought that was worth a mention.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild.
But I noticed also as well, there seems to be a theme. A theme I've noticed for all of this is that the intelligence thing. I think there's something to that, because I've heard so many of these stories, and probably 50% of them are about people who survive that shouldn't have, right? And they screw with them. It's like there's a devilment. It's like they mess with people. They try and scare people on purpose. Do you know what I'm saying?
But this is what sorry.
You know what I'm saying? They'll be tapping on people's windows and stuff, waiting for them to open the curtains. And then you'll like fall over stunned. This guy said he fell over his bed, crapping himself, right? And they look back at it, and this thing's grinned at him, proper smiled at him, like a proper big smile, because he saw him like fall over, and he ran to go and get his gun, and by the time he got back, he's gone. But you hear that a lot. They'll jump up and get right near your window, and you'll be like face to face, and they could smash through, but they don't. And I think it's like I think that's letting you know. I think there's an intelligence there. I think they're ancient at it. And I think they go and do about the thing. I think they've got certain, places to go for mating and where they go for hunting and that. And I think there's probably like a corridor or something that's just known. I think that's probably what like this national park stuff's for. I say immense areas. And I think it's probably for some of these cryptid things. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's interesting that you get a lot of this on Navajo land. And you get these talks of, wars, it's ancient stuff, wars between Bigfoot and Dogmen. And it's known, and the Navajo have got these prophecies that say during the end times you'll start seeing them more, and they're saying we're facing they didn't say what, but they say we're facing the biggest threat to humanity at the minute, and that's why we're seeing these kind of Dogmen-like things. So I thought it's interesting, isn't it? And like Tam says, there's so many ancient civilizations come before us and people been before us. You don't know what's out there, man. And all your extra land masses, Earth's probably bigger. What if the Atlanteans were Dogmen? Does it make it less romantic or what? What do you think?
Yeah.
I just want to, it goes back to what I was saying earlier in the show that, so these ancient Dogmen civilization that lived before humans, right? And then the scientists nowadays have kind of stumbled upon the DNA or the history and where to find these. And with your Mexican story about the Mexican border, maybe they used this genetic modified DNA and created their what is it? What did you say, Rohan? The XZ whatever.
Yeah, they called it something like DX756 or something.
Yeah, maybe they created that as an experiment. So everything kind of correlates. But then I'm thinking, and now you said that there's an intelligence behind it. But if you take into account that dogs and wolves and any kind of animal like that has, even the story Kelly was telling earlier about the movie The Great Wall, about the Telltale had an alpha. So the intelligence points would be an alpha. And all the wolves and the dogmen would have a pack and an alpha to rule the pack. And that would be the go-to person to communicate with, if they're intelligent and can actually communicate with humans or whoever, would be the person to say, well, this is our territory and that can be your territory. And, we need to know that the fundamentals of any kind of animal, that there needs to be a leader, any kind of group, Yes, no?
I'm with you.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And I think that's a good point. Same with the dogs. I think dogs have got like they're like domestic pets and stuff. They've got personalities, aren't they? Do you know what I'm saying? And some of them do devilment. And I've seen chimpanzees where one of them kind of gets bullied by the alpha, got injured, and the alpha gets injured. So every time his back's turned, the chimpanzee that gets bullied a lot, he'll pretend he's limping. Right, and then when the alpha turns around, it walks normal. So it looks like chimps know how to take the piss out of people. Do you know what I'm saying? And so you think, well, like say maybe that intelligence thing, maybe am I giving it too much credit? It's just like that grinning thing. I suppose animals do that, don't you? You can witness that, can't you? Animals doing stuff for fun, like cats pushing things off. They know, don't they? I think they know it bothers you, so and they do it like kids when they're going into the fire and test you, sort of thing. So I don't know, but I just think it's interesting that there's so many of these things. It's like even that. I don't know if you guys remember when Stephen Greer did that Sirius project and said he's got a little skeleton. I think it's alien from the Atacama Desert. But it was interesting when that was coming out. I discovered that there was one of those skeletons found before, but it was from a creature that was alive. A Russian woman found it, and it was tiny. So she thought it was a tiny little baby, probably like a fairy or something. So she took it home and tried to feed it like a fairy, tried to look after it. But she was elderly, and she had to get taken into hospital with some ailment. And by the time she could come out of hospital, it had died. So they had this skeleton. It was on a Russian documentary years and years ago before that Stephen Gray stuff. And I thought, is that not alien? Are they little people? Like I say, and the fairy folk used to believe in that stuff in Ireland until one scholar wrote a book saying it was stupid. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, that scholar is stupid.
See the point though, don't you? Experts say, "Oh no, it's not to," and people kind of fall in line. It makes you wonder. And that was Wasn't that a theme in the Constantine film? That there was a lady, there was these two sisters, and one of them had the sight and whatever, and her sister had it as well, but she'd been all logical and she'd ignored it. And it's not till the end of the movie she realizes she's been able to see ghosts her whole life. She'd just been sort of ignoring it, and then you don't see them, you know?
Well, that's the difference between the awakened and the unawakened.
And all of that.
I suppose, like I say, the sign.
Indeed.
Pardon my...
You're okay. You're good. It's no problem. Let's wrap it up though. Let's finish this. We're a little overtime, which is all good. I appreciate all you guys bailing me out as always. Right, saving my ass every single night with amazing thoughts. Special thanks to Tam Bam for jumping in there twice when I was struggling trying to right the ship, and I appreciate that so much. And yeah, let's do it. Yeah, final thoughts. Let's go to Kelly, and then we'll do Tam, and then back to Rohan. Let's finish this up. Kelly. If not, we'll go to Tam Bam. You're up, Tam.
Yeah. So Kelly mentioned a movie earlier called, The Great Wall with the Taute. And so they came out of caves, right? They came out of caves underground. And if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times, nothing good comes out of caves and weird tunnels in the mountain. So be safe. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't go there. All right, I'm with you. 100%. Don't go climbing into caves half-heartedly. You're going to maybe have problems. Yep, exactly right. 100%. Good stuff, Tam. Thank you very much. Appreciate it again. Thanks for bailing me out there. All right, Rohan. What about Dogmen? What is this, man? There's all kinds of crazy mythologies with this stuff, and you can trace them back to all kinds of different places all over the world. It's a little bit nuts when you start digging out some of these stories, huh?
Yeah, it is a little bit, but I think the biggest takeaway, I think, should definitely be: do not go out hunting for them. Don't go try and find them. You hear about some sightings and that, there's a lot in this zone. Don't go looking for these things, because you're just asking for trouble with that stuff. Do you know what I'm saying? And every single person that's had these encounters says you don't want to be doing that. You know what I'm saying? I know we get these groups and stuff that'll go and do stuff, but sometimes, there was one story of a guy that got him talking to one of them groups because he had some on the back. He just was trying to find out what it was about, because it's on his new garden. They're going to cutting across his garden, and they ended up figuring out he's gone on holiday and coming and using his house to try and hunt him, and he really annoyed the neighbours and ended up just shooting into the woods and killed his neighbour's kid. So do you know what I mean? So it's hate to be a Debbie Downer, but don't go after these things, because if it turns out real, man, you're in trouble. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's why it's worth mentioning it. And bear in mind, some state maps have got Sasquatch marked on the map from decades ago. I've seen them on there. So yeah, I don't know. Don't go looking for him.
Don't do it. Stay out of the caves. Don't go looking for Dogmen, unless you've got a camera crew, right? And because then you won't find them. Remember the finding.
Announce it globally first before you go. Yeah, there you go. Keep yourself safe.
Camera first, life.
There you go. All right, guys. So we are done. Thank you again for bailing me out tonight and every night. And like I always say, this is what this show is about. It's about getting together, having a conversation. I appreciate it very, very, very much for all your amazing takes. And like I said, you sort of think in terms of, well, where was this conversation go? I think I have some ideas, but then still, every single night, you guys are blowing my mind. Thank you very much. Again, all the callers. I'm not going to list all you off, because if I do, I'll leave somebody out, and then I'll owe Robert some money because, well, he was miffed when I left him out the other night, and he's rightly so. So I'll just say thank you to all the folks who called in. Thank you to everybody who listens to the show. Thank you to everybody for bearing with me tonight, a little bit off, not really on my game, and also thank you for just being you. That's the biggest thing, is just, like I said, the inspiration to keep coming back day after day. I know there's people out there that love this and rely on this, and it's part of your schedule, and I'm honored by that. And thank you so much for all of it. So thanks for the great chat. Thanks for the great calls. Thanks for all of everything, all the things that you guys do. As we finish, you guys know the drill. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Troubled Minds coming to a stream near you, and we'll be back tomorrow. The bad news is this one's for Jay. Tonight we're done. The good news is, God willing, we'll have tomorrow. And well, as it ends, it goes a little something like this. You want to do it, Tim?
No.
Be sure. Be strong.
Be strong.
Be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Peace out.
Oh, yeah. The dog.
Can't not do one on Dogman show.
Dogman howl. You got to do the Dogman howl, right?
Get off my lawn!
There it is. There it is. Thanks again, guys. Spread the word. If you want to help us out, you can follow us on Rockfin. You can follow us on sub up on Rockfin, Twitch, or listen to the podcast feed. That helps as well. The Patreons out there, etc. So on. Thank you so much for all the support. Like I said, you make my world go around. Makes it easy to come back and do some crazy stuff every night. So stay tuned for more Troubled Minds tomorrow, 7 p.m. Pacific. Thanks again.
Feel better.
Yeah, I'm fine. It's barely anything. That's why I would have felt bad if I sloughed it off, because it probably would have got better in like 30 minutes and I'd have been fine. Just one of those weird. I ate something and then it's like didn't sit right. So it's just like that's all it was. No big deal. Appreciate it, guys. You all the best, and we're out.
Cheers, guys. Bye.